Ready for opening day on Thursday? We take a look now with Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It is hour one of Jon and Jim. We are back together in studio for the first time in about a week and a half.
Do you remember how to do this?
I remember how to do it. So the last 2 weeks have taken me to Vegas and then to Dayton, and now back to San Diego to spend the next 4 hours with you. This is a great week, and there's a lot to get into. You mentioned March Madness and transfer portal. It's also opening day. I mean, this is a great week. Thursday is 3 days away, Jim fact.
Wow.
Padres roster crunch coming together. Now, Yu Darvish on the IL we're going to get into. But this is always one of the best weeks of the year. Honestly, you've got the culmination of March Madness, right? You're down to the Sweet 16. Padres are back. We've been waiting for forever, Jim. Doesn't it feel like now they played until the middle of the postseason? They won around. They won 5 games against the Dodgers. It really hasn't been that long. But all we talked about all offseason was Roki Sasaki, John Seidler, Shiel Seidler. This spring training, let's be honest. I mean,
what, you want to be really honest?
I want to be really honest. We didn't talk about anything. There was nothing going on.
This spring training was as boring as it could get. Now, I will say, like, I'm okay if it's boring.
Yeah, but it hasn't been the desired boringness now that Yu Darvish is going to start the year in the IL.
Until the Yu Darvish news. Now, it's yet to be seen if this Yu Darvish to the IL with elbow inflammation will turn into a long-term injury or it's a short-term precautionary type of IL stint. We don't know yet. But while you were gone, me and Brent were sitting here like we almost made it to opening day. We were 7 days away from, I would say, a pretty clean, uneventful, which is fine, spring training and going into the season fully healthy. And now, obviously, they're not.
So Kevin Acee will join us at 4 p.m. Final Padres spring training game is today, and then they head for San Diego, and they'll play Thursday afternoon against the Atlanta Braves. That's the story right now of the spring. And we'll get into these bench decisions, and we'll hear from Mike Schild. There's nothing more important in this, the final day of spring training, than Yu Darvish. Like, you can't sell me on Martin Maldonado as the backup catcher or Brandon Lockridge platooning in left field and being a defensive replacement. Nothing is more important than Yu Darvish. Now, am I overly concerned on this, the 24th day of March? No, I'm not overly concerned because the season is long. And if they get him back sooner rather than later, it can completely be overcome. Completely. But and they didn't have him for a lot of last year because of personal reasons. He didn't throw 100 innings last year.
He pitched in 16 games.
16 starts.
81 innings.
Exactly.
Pitched.
So it can be overcome. But you don't have Joe Musgrove. You want to have Yu Darvish. You've added Nick Pivetta, but we'll see on Pivetta. It was one thing to have to fill a 5th starter in your rotation, Jim. I do still think it's something else if you have to fill 2 spots in your rotation. Again, for a short period of time, nobody's going to lose sleep over it. But if it's a long period of time, that to me is probably the biggest story of the final day of spring training, way bigger than the final bullpen piece or the final bench piece.
Yeah, because, we'll talk about the bench coming up here, but the Darvish news is the most significant. How the rotation will line up, if you do not know, Mike Schultz said it will be King, Cease, TBD on that Saturday night.
He's been good.
TBD's been great this spring. I really like TBD a lot. Also, player to be named later. Those players are really good. I like those guys. Or cash considerations. The cash consideration guys are good too. And then Nick Pivetta is scheduled for the first Sunday of the year, which is ironically Sunday Night Baseball here in San Diego, and then another TBD. And I think that's what you want, because you don't want to have King, Cease, Pivetta, and then TBD, because what if those two guys, we had a wrap-up show last night. Like, what if those two guys don't give you any innings? Then you got 2 straight days where you're going to be heavily relying on a bullpen and then putting pressure on King and Cease to go deep into games, which they're capable of. But at the beginning of the year, you don't want to tax those guys out.
Yeah, completely agree. And again, to start the year, if you don't have Yu Darvish for a turn or 2 or 3, you can completely overcome it. To your point, 16 starts a year ago. I mean, if King and Cease are King and Cease, and if Pivetta is what you hope him to be, which he makes 30 starts and gives you a lot of innings, I think you're in a fine spot. But with all that being said, like, Jurickson Profar is no longer here. Kyle Higashioka is no longer here. It's pretty easy to say that the offense might not be the same offense as last year. We can get into this bench. Now, I don't think the bench is the end-all be-all today in the National League without double switches. I don't think you're going to win an extra 10 games because of your bench, but this bench leaves a lot to be desired. It really does. We can hear from Mike Schill. Brandon Lockridge is the final player that has made this team over guys like Tyler Wade and Connor Joe, who's a San Diegan, and Oscar Gonzalez, for whatever it's worth. So I'm not going to pretend as if the whole season's going to be determined based on the strength of their bench. I think that's probably putting too much stock in the importance of a bench. But heading into the year where you're trying to maybe win an extra game or 2 or 3, and the difference between getting into the postseason or not could be the difference between 87 wins and 88 wins or whatever it is. I mean, this bench, Jim, to start the year, I don't know if it's how they're going to finish the year, but man, it's lacking a lot of punch to start the year. Is that there's just nothing sexy about this bench to start the year? Nothing at all.
No, it's made this team incredibly old with Gurriel and Maldonado and Jose Iglesias, all guys over 35, added to Machado and Xander and Cronenworth's in his 30s now, like, and Jason Hayward. This is an old team. Mm-hmm. This team got old quick. Yu Darvish, right? They're old. So thinking to myself, all right, last year's team won 93 games. At the end of the year, their bench was really good. Guys like Donovan Solano and David Peralta, right? You had guys that were stepping up on their bench, and you thought their bench was really good last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you what their bench was to start opening day last season. All right?
Okay.
Tell me if this year's bench is better than last year's bench.
Okay.
All right. Last year's bench included Jose Azocar, Eggy Rosario, your boy Tyler Wade. You remember Graham Pauley?
Yeah, I do.
And then Kyle Higashioka started on the bench. Obviously, he became the starter later in the year. But that was their bench last year.
Yeah, but here's what I like about that bench compared to this bench.
They're young.
They're
guys.
young. Yeah. Like they were higher ceiling pieces. Now, did they all work out? No, but Kyle Higashioka had a career year. This bench, and again, I don't know the true. Who cares at the end of the day? Like, I don't care if your bench is the worst in baseball if Manny Machado hits 40 home runs. Like if Manny Machado has a career year, I would take the worst bench in baseball over having a top 15 bench and Manny Machado having a down year. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how impactful it is, but to start the year, I hope we don't see a lot of it, I guess. I hope I'm not relying on the bench to be starting 4 times a week. Like, I don't want to see Brandon Lockridge starting 5 times a week. I know he had a nice spring. He's going to platoon in left field. Martin Maldonado, is he going to start 3 or 4 times a week as the second catcher, maybe 3 times a week? It just feels like it's one thing if you're not overly reliant on it, but if you are overly reliant on a bench that has a catcher that can't hit, a platoon outfielder that's never done anything in the major leagues, right? Like, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, again, I'll take Machado hitting and Tatis hitting and Bogarts hitting over any bench at all. But I still think compared to the rest of baseball, it's probably lacking, would be my guess.
Of a team that you expect to contend, and I texted this over the weekend, we talked about it last night. And I just have to look at everybody's bench. But again, of the contending teams in baseball, where would you put this bench?
How would we even know?
Exactly.
Tell me the Giants bench. Tell me the Rockies.
Exactly. Bench. It's not something that I'm like, man, the Mets bench is really good this year.
Exactly.
Like, they have Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor,
and they're not coming off the bench.
No, those guys are starting. Just like the Padres have Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado. So the bench is what it is. It's not something I'm going to lose sleep over. Truthfully, I'm not going to sit here and throw a fit about it. I'm just not. Do I like it? No. Do I think Martin Maldonado should be on this team? No. But I care way more about what Manny Machado does and Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis Jr. To me, Xander Bogaerts is infinitely more important than anybody on their bench.
I could argue that all these starters really are.
Yeah, because Xander's going to be playing every day.
Yeah, exactly.
If Xander's going to play like he's played the last 2 seasons, then that's a bigger problem than having Martin Maldonado go 0 for 4 twice a week. Right?
Correct.
What's going on over there?
Nothing's going on right now.
I mean, it's transfer portal day. So did you get some news?
Hold on.
Did you get some news here?
Man, transfer portal season, dude.
If it were up to John, we would spend 4 hours on the transfer portal today.
No, we wouldn't. Although you could spend more. There's like 6,000 people in the portal already. Let's see here. Magoon Gwath is expected to test NBA draft waters, which he had previously said. But if he returns to college, this is Mark Ziegler, as most expected, almost certainly will not be at San Diego State.
That's what Ziegler says.
So Magungwath walked down the hall from the coach's office and submitted paperwork to enter the transfer portal, which for college basketball officially opened Monday morning.
Why'd you ruin my day like that?
Oh, man. So Nick, we'll get into this over the course. And we have so much time.
Yeah.
Nick Boyd went in Friday night. That was unexpected. And remember what Nick Boyd told us on Jon and Jim a couple of weeks ago. If you missed that, you'll hear that coming up. And now none of this should be surprising, Jim. I mean, none of this should be surprising. We're in a world where not the only thing that matters, but what matters first and foremost is the dollars involved. When you have a player like Magungwath, you're talking about crazy sums of money available. I go back to last year. New Mexico had a player, Mount West Freshman of the Year, JT Toppin. He got $1.5 million to go to Texas Tech. He's one of the best players in the Big 12. How can you compete with that? Like this is a system that I don't blame the players for the system. I don't blame the players, but it's a system that's not sustainable. You wonder why there's no Cinderellas left in March. Because players leave for $1.5 million. And how can you blame the players? If you have unlimited free agency and no salary cap, how is this sustainable?
It's not. And I think the Magungwath news that just dropped, him entering the transfer portal, isn't all that surprising. The Nick Boyd entering the transfer portal to me is much more surprising, but it hurts all the same. It's one of those things where back 5 years ago, these guys would be returning and they could enter the season next year as a top 25 team in the AP poll easily. And probably the favorites to win the Mountain West Conference. And a guy that could easily in a year in Magungwath be the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year. And they could be, we could be sitting here talking about the expectations of making Sweet 16s and things of that nature. But now it's like, you better get it done in a year or good luck.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk to Brian Dutcher this week. I don't know when. I think tomorrow Dutch is going to join us. And San Diego State's never had more money in their collective, but we're in a new world where you can't have enough money. And when players are getting $1+ million for one season, I mean, it's going to be hard to compete. I don't care who you are. It's going to be hard to compete.
Are you okay?
Completely. I expected this with Watt.
Now,
I mean, you'd be fooling yourself. And we've even had conversations probably over text. I mean, Magungwath is a special player. It was going to take a lot of money and potentially more. He might end up in the NBA next year. We have no idea.
Right.
He could end up in the NBA next year. But it was always going to take a lot to keep a player like Magungwath. It was as simple as that. If you've watched him play, it was as simple as that.
Now, when this dropped, because I know you've heard some things and stuff, right? Was this the first time you saw this, or
this is but I've been waiting all day.
Are we getting initial reaction from you?
You're getting initial reaction from me. I've been waiting all day for something like this. The portal's open. You're going to get things like this, not just at San Diego State, but elsewhere. I think there's already over 600 players nationally in the portal. That's an average of 2 per team already.
Players that are still in the tournament have entered the transfer portal.
Scottie Pippen's kid is in the portal. At Michigan, they're in the Sweet 16. What kind of sport has a portal that opens up in the midst of the postseason? All right, we'll react to that on the other side. Plus, we'll hear from Mike Schild on these roster decisions coming down the pipeline. Don't go anywhere. We're here for forever. Until 6 p.m. It's Jon and Jim. All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. So it was a couple of weeks ago. I mean, these are different but similar. You mentioned Nick Boyd, right? So a couple of weeks ago, he comes on with us. And by the way, I'm a big fan of Nick Boyd. This is why I keep saying this, Jim. I'm going to say this for forever. I'm not blaming the players. If we had a chance right now to go make 5 times more, that's the kind of money we're talking about.
I'm sorry.
Think about that right now for our listeners. Let's say you have like a typical, whatever you make. Let's say you make $60K. Okay. Let's just say you make $30 an hour or whatever it is. Just throw out a number. Let's say you make $60K. And someone comes to you right now and says $300K, take it or leave it. What are 95%? I might be low on that. What are 95% of our listeners going to do in their 30s and 40s and 50s? Imagine if you're 19. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Say, I don't want the 1.5. Mm-hmm. I like this staff. I like this program. I like this culture. But at the end of the day, like you could support your $1 million, man. I'm never going to make $1 million in a year, Jim. You won't either. I can confirm it.
Thanks.
You know what I mean, though? Like, if someone came to us, we're in the middle of our careers.
I know.
If someone came to us right now and said, Jim, take it or leave it, $1 million, go to Vegas.
Now, there are other reasons why people enter the transfer portal other than money. Money's a huge factor. I would say 95%, maybe more, enter because of money. But you remember Elijah Saunders just last year, just randomly entered the transfer portal. A lot of it had to do with his family.
Which I think in turn had to do with money.
But also
the money supporting his family.
I get that. And the way that parents and family members, the influence they have on these kids now it's crazy.
Can you blame the influence? Again, no. if you're talking to your mom, Jim, and you say, hey, Mom, I got an offer to go work in Chicago, and they're going to pay me 5 times what I make with Jon. She's going to say, hey, listen, I know you guys are good friends, but you're going to have to talk to him. You're going to have to 5 times. You're talking about, supporting Aaron, supporting your family in the future. You going to turn that down?
I'm just telling you, if that ever happened, I'm leaving you in 2 seconds.
Bro, it's not going to happen. So that's the difference here.
True.
Okay, so can we get to Nick Boyd? And then we can turn this into a conversation about Magoo. So Jim told you earlier, Mark Ziegler reporting that Magoo is expected to enter the portal. He's going to test NBA waters. Who knows if he ever plays college basketball again? But if he does, it's likely not going to be with San Diego State. Now, Nick Boyd had another year of college eligibility. And I think Nick Boyd was a very likable one-year player for the Aztecs. I think if you're an Aztec fan, you probably fell in love with Nick Boyd. But you probably also thought he was coming back. Now, did he go against his word when he said this to us a couple of weeks ago on Jon and Jim?
Have you put any thought into your future here at San Diego State?
Yeah, I mean, when I came here, I wanted to stay here. I'm not really a guy who likes to relocate. So, I mean, I'm here. I'm a San Diego State Aztec. And I haven't really put much thought, outside of that. I was really just been focused on, like you said, playing March basketball. And it's kind of funny because people ask you these questions, and I was always just brushing it off, especially because through Mountain West play, I wasn't playing my best ball, and that's what I've been consumed upon. And I needed to just be myself, and so I've really been blocking that noise out. And obviously, when you start playing better, a bunch of people want to call, but I don't really entertain that stuff, and I love where I'm at in terms of this program, and I'm grateful for the opportunity these coaches given me by allowing me to have the ball in my hands and be a leader on the team who could be a NCAA tournament contender.
Do you feel like now that you're taking over for Teddy, they're like, you know what? I don't know if I want to have Jon calling our games anymore.
What do you mean?
It's a joke. Never mind.
I missed it.
Just right over
my head.
Just right over the head there. It's okay.
But what were you saying? I don't get it.
I was joking with you like, oh, now you're the new play-by-play guy for the Aztecs. And these guys are entering the portal, the Magoo. I don't want to have Jon call my games, boy. I don't want to have Jon.
If it was only that simple.
Yeah, the joke doesn't really hit when you have to try to explain it.
Yeah, it didn't hit.
Yeah, it didn't hit at all.
Listen, again, I'm not going to. Did Nick Boyd maybe mislead? Yeah, maybe. Like, with the benefit of hindsight, should he have maybe said, I'm just taking it 1 year at a time and I'm worried about this March? Yeah, probably. Because I think what it did is it got people's hopes up that he was going to be back because he is so likable and because he was so good. At the end of the day, he's going to be like 2,000 other players. He's going to be in the portal. Now, the fact that he said, hey, I see myself as a San Diego State Aztec and I think I'm coming, whatever he said, I'm paraphrasing. You just heard what he said. That's the part where I probably think he probably went too far. I have no problem with him entering the portal for him to say or lead people down a path that he was likely going to be back. Shoot, Tuesday night after they get blown out by North Carolina, he's at the podium. The final thing said by an Aztec when he said, "Hey, thank you, gentlemen, fantastic season." The final thing he said was, "We'll be back." So again, would I have done that with the benefit of hindsight? But remember, Jim, these are 21-year-olds. These are 21-year-olds. We're reading into everything a 21-year-old is saying. Is that reasonable and fair?
Yeah, I don't like it at all. And I've thought 100% Nick Boyd was going to return, because talking to him as much time as we have and hearing him there, sounded pretty confident that he's returning. The Magoon thing, you could kind of, like you said, you can kind of tell that that probably was heading down the path of entering the portal. But I do trust Dutch. This makes things much more difficult for sure. Like, you're going to need a lot of new players on this team next year. It's nice that Reese has committed to come back. I'm going to wait on Miles Bird. I know he has said that he is not entering the portal. He's going to test NBA waters or return. He will not enter the portal. So those two guys, if they come back, you're going to need obviously more talent to replace Magoon, who was a freshman of the year in the Mountain West, and Nick Boyd, who was just a stud and a leader of this team, very vocal leader. But Dutch has done this before, and it's just the new way of college basketball. And if you're an Aztec fan out there thinking this is like the death of the program, I got some news for you. It's not, but it just makes things that much harder to get to where you want to get to. And Dutch has his work cut out for him. That's for sure.
A year ago, to your point, now again, it doesn't make it easy. A year ago, they lost Lamont Butler, Jaden Ledee, Darion Trammell. Give me more. Reese Waters.
Micah Parrish.
Reese Waters, because he didn't play this year.
Yeah.
Micah Parrish and Elijah Saunders. Your top 6 scorers didn't return. Now they made I did.
Okay.
And they made the NCAA tournament. Now, I'm not saying that that's an ideal way to go about it. Lose your top 6 scorers every single year. Kentucky replaced every point on their roster. Now, they had money, and they're in the Sweet 16. I'm just saying that the movement is happening everywhere. You heard what I just said. Kentucky replaced every point that they had from last year's team to this year's team. They're in the Sweet 16. So, yeah, it's a new world, and it's adapt or die is what it is. I think San Diego State will continue to adapt to it, but paying $2 million to keep a player is not reasonable. It's not reasonable for most programs, including San Diego State. All right, we're going to hear from Mike Schild on the other side. The roster crunch decisions, Tyler Wade out, Brandon Lockridge on the roster to start the year. Plus, can the Padres overcome an injury to Yu Darvish? Kevin Acee will join us at 4 p.m. It's Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. We'll start with breaking news for the Aztecs. Magoon Guath has officially entered the transfer portal over the weekend. Nick Boyd announced that he has entered the transfer portal as well. And Padres news of the day, Brandon Lockridge. He is the final man on the 26-man opening day roster, beating out Tyler Wade. And Yu Darvish has been put on the IL. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options and easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
All right, Jon and Jim back with you. Kevin AC at 4 p.m. We'll have a guest from MLS Season Pass. San Diego FC suffers its first ever loss in Major League Soccer. Joining us coming up today at 5 p.m. A reminder, San Diego Sports 760 is your home for March Madness. Catch all the action from the playing games to the Final Four. Sweet 16 action Thursday and Friday beginning at 4 on your home of March Madness, San Diego Sports 760. I want to get to Schulte.
Yes.
But I want to read a text.
Okay.
Because I understand the frustration here from the texter. I really do. I want to get your thoughts on it. 815 says, really unhappy with the state of college basketball. Guath or no Guath, opinion doesn't change here. Hard to root for a guy if they leave after 1 year every single time. What's the point of recruiting freshmen unless they are Cooper Flag? Does it get better in the Pac-12? I don't really see that being the case at this point. Big Ten and SEC have unlimited funds. Talk me off the ledge, John. I'll start actually with Jim. So
me?
I mean, I want to
get
your thoughts, and then I'll provide my 2 cents. But, to be honest with you, well, you can provide your 2 cents, or do you want me to?
You go ahead.
I was going to say, to be honest with you, I don't think the Big Ten and the SEC like it. I really don't. I think there are coaches at Purdue that are like, what is going on? How are we so there are players leaving Rutgers to go to Michigan. There's players leaving Michigan to go to UCLA, and there's players leaving UCLA. Like it's a revolving door everywhere. I just saw a former top 50 recruit that said Gonzaga just went into the portal. Gonzaga. Yeah. And you say, well, Gonzaga's not Michigan. Guys, it's happening at Michigan. Scottie Pippen's kid is in the Sweet 16. He just entered the portal. Like we get this, what is it? Like blinders on, Jim? It's like when we cover the Padres. Like, oh my gosh, another pitcher has an arm injury. There's pitchers around baseball that have arm injuries. Another player in the portal from San Diego State. There's other players in the portal around college basketball. My point is, it's systemic. It's not San Diego State. It's the system, and it's happening everywhere.
100%. It's not just here in town. It's everywhere. Every school is having these same issues. John Calipari, yesterday after their win over St. John's, he talked about how the portal has just made everything so much more difficult.
Sure.
And not just for the schools, but for the kids. Like he mentioned, these kids got gorilla-sized pianos on their back, like a metaphor, because of the pressure that they have to go get the most money they possibly can. The game in college now is not about going to a school and developing for 2 or 3 seasons. It's where can I get the most money? And that's why you've seen in the NBA a dip in, the talent level coming out, and how it's taken like a long time for guys to develop at the NBA level because they don't have enough time in the college ranks to develop. So as soon as they get drafted, a top 10 draft pick comes in and can produce and help their teams right away. I can't remember who was last year's first overall pick. Do you remember? I can't. What's going on?
Someone was calling in.
Oh,
on our hotline.
Okay. Do you know who the number 1 pick overall last year was in the NBA? Because I don't remember.
Cooper Flag.
That's going to be this season.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
Like in the NBA draft now, it's all development.
Oh
guys.
yeah, they had those 2 French guys back to back.
Yeah, it's all development guys. There's not, Cooper Flag I think can translate right away, but a lot of these kids coming out, it's a tough time, and everything now is based around money. And I wish Magoon the best. He's probably going to go get $1 million plus somewhere. I just hope he can find somewhere where he can develop, because, if he's just chasing the money, which he is, and he doesn't develop and get bigger and stronger and, fine tune his game, if he gets drafted in the lottery in the NBA in a year, and he might take a while for him to, really hit in the NBA, if at all.
I'll be honest with you. I think he might get developed by the San Antonio Spurs. I mean, we'll see. This guy's ceiling is so high that maybe you take a flyer on him a year early as opposed to a year late, because he's got a chance to be a lottery pick. Sean Lewis has said this before on the football side. He kind of wishes there was a finder's fee. It's like, if you lose a player, like, shouldn't you be compensated for that player? It was Brian Dutcher and his staff that took the shot on Magoon Guath. It was Dutch and the staff that were willing to redshirt him for a year in order to land his services. It was Dutch and the staff that developed him. It was Dutch and the staff that gave him this opportunity here in 2024-25. You know what I mean? Like, it was Brian Dutcher and his staff that found the diamond in the rough. Now the world has been able to see him on full display, and now it's pick of the litter. Now, if it's the NBA, it's the NBA. Kawhi Leonard left after 2 years.
Yeah.
15 years ago. You know what I mean? So if it's the NBA, it's the NBA. You completely understand it. But if it's Texas Tech, and you're like, the only reason you're at Texas Tech is because they have more money.
Right.
There's no real answer here. There's no way to really wrap your arms around it. It's going to continue to happen unless they put rules in place that prevent it from happening.
Are you going to be able to sleep tonight?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. These are things that I expect.
You expect, and it's a day where the rage from fan bases will be at an all-time high. It's not just here in San Diego. I'm sure there's other places where their best players are entering the portal, and, those fan bases are raging as well. But guess what Dutch and the coaching staff's job is, before these things happen, is to look at the portal and identify talent. And I'm sure they've talked to numerous players already in college that, or not in college, but just like identified players that they could go after in the portal if they were to enter it. And now that's their job, is from this point on, they identify talent, they go after those players, and, try to have them come here to San Diego State. But I agree with you. I think maybe the strategy of developmental young guys should not be the way that Dutch goes. Instead, he should get more like third and fourth year guys to come here instead.
Let me ask you this. From like a March Madness NCAA tournament perspective, and we'll hear from Stephen A. Smith later in the show, who basically paraphrasing said that by not having Cinderella, you're basically going to have the death of March Madness. Now, I think that's going too far. I think the ratings are going to be big when you have big brands playing big brands. It's like college football. When you have Michigan playing Ohio State more, you probably have higher ratings than when Michigan's playing Arkansas State, right? That's playing out in football. But like, if you're the NCAA, the one thing you cannot do is kill the golden goose. The NCAA tournament, for everything that's going on in college athletics over the last 10 years or 5 years, all the craziness, the one thing they can always hang their hat on is March Madness, right? March Madness creates billions of dollars of revenue, literally $1 billion of revenue. You can't kill the golden goose, dude. You can't not have. It's called March Madness for a reason. Not for the top four seeds to always advance. That's only 1 year. I'm not saying. Yeah. I don't think 1 year makes a trend.
I don't either. And truthfully, if UCSD hit that 3, they might be moving on.
And if Derek Queen's called for a travel, which it wasn't a travel, then CSU's moving on. Colorado State.
I think NIL has played and is going to play a way bigger impact in the women's game. The women's game is ridiculous
in terms of the haves and the have-nots.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's
harder to compete.
It is like San Diego State, the women's team.
An amazing year.
Amazing year. Yeah. They lost by 50 to LSU on Saturday night. Like UConn won by 70 in their opening round game. UCLA won by 50. That's ridiculous. The haves and the have-nots in the women's game especially is way much more of a problem than in the men's game. Now, it's a problem in both, but the disparity in the men or the women's side, it's like a size of the Grand Canyon. It's not there yet on the men's side, but the women's way, way worse.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, is it a surprise that when players leave mid-major schools for power conference schools, the power conference schools are now beating mid-major schools in the NCAA tournament? Is that what people want? Or do people want to see more Oakland over Kentucky? Do they want to see FAU in the Final Four? right? Do they want to see VCU make a run? Do they want to see? Isn't that the beauty of this event? The beauty of March Madness is it's an open system. Every league champion is in. That Lipscomb can advance just like Kentucky can advance. Like if you kill that idea, that's going to be interesting to see. That could be problematic. Again, the one thing the NCAA has always gotten away with is the March Madness is like, no matter what's going on with the NCAA, March Madness is this unbelievable sports part of the year. One of the great events in American sports. You can't kill that. Like if you're the NCAA, you better not hurt that because of whatever else is going on in the sport. All right, we will hear from Mike Schilt on the other side. Kevin Acee will join us at 4 p.m. We'll talk about San Diego FC suffering its first loss of the year at 5 p.m. with Andrew Wiebe. MLS season pass. It's Jon and Jim. All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Kevin Acee will join us coming up at 4 p.m. I have confirmation. Brian Dutcher will join us tomorrow at 4 p.m. So how many times has Dutch been talking about, like, he's not just saying it to say it. He's like, Mace is important. He's not kidding. He's not kidding. Like, could they use that, like that big fish? Like they could use that angel investor. But that easier said than done. I bet a lot of programs could use that guy that's got $3 million too. Hey, here's $3 million.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and blame fans for not donating to Mesa.
Well, it's not that.
It's not that either. But I will say it would be nice, like you said, to have that guy with or woman with deep pockets that is an Aztec fan and goes to games and watches games to invest in the club. That's what I would like. The average fan, like, again, there's no way I'm going to be like, why are you donating to Mesa? Because, I mean, we all know how it is out there. People aren't, making hundreds of thousands of dollars every single day. And so,
but a lot of people have donated. I'm just saying, it's kind of like
a lot of people have, for sure.
It's kind of like this, like when he says we need the community support, and you're right. I mean, it's not like the difference here is going to be $20 or $40.
Right.
But it's also kind of like, how like when your parents told you when you could vote, like make sure to vote. Like, why? So millions of people vote. Do you think my vote is going to make a difference? I'm just saying it takes the community, whether it's the business community, the local community. It does. It just takes everyone. And I'm not saying it's financially supporting is going to be the difference, but interest, tickets, it all adds up.
All right, Tyler Wade, because I feel like you can talk about this for 7 hours.
You want? Well, Tyler Wade. I don't know if it's okay. Let's hear. Okay, let's hear from Mike Schilt, because Brandon Lockridge makes the team over Tyler Wade, which to me and you is utterly shocking, because Mike Schilt is like the head of the Tyler Wade fan club for the last 13 months.
He loves Tyler Wade.
So let's hear this back and forth about Brandon Lockridge and about Tyler Wade, and then react to the Padres making their final bench decisions.
Yeah, good for Lock. He's making his first opening day, and he's more than earned it. And what can he do? The one way I've been taught to think about, rosters is how does the player beat the other team, and in simple terms. And so the thing about Lock is, he can do it a lot of different ways. He's clearly can run. He's a plus, top of the scale runner. And it's good that he can run, but it's only as good as its application, right? And so he's a really good outfielder. He takes good routes. He can play all three outfield positions. You've noticed him a little bit more in left recently, for obvious reasons. So I'd expect him to get some opportunity, especially against lefties. But can clearly play center. Uses the speed on the bunt game. And also, when he gets on, he's a fearless base runner. Not only capable of stealing a base, but also just a good base runner in general. So it helps you in a lot of different ways. And then, this guy's really had a good, productive offensive spring. Continues to get better. Has a, consistently, good with his approach, uses the whole field. So he helps us a lot.
We've asked you how tough the decisions were going to be now that they've kind of been made up on the position player side. Like, how tough were they, given how well the entirety of the group played?
That was as tough a decision as I've ever been a part of at any level, including the big league level. That was, that was hard. Those are hard decisions, and hard on some really quality guys that are big league players that at the onset won't be with us.
Can you speak specifically to Tyler, knowing how much you and others think of him and what he brought to last year's team?
Yeah, that one, was really hard. Again, more on Tyler, but not seeing him today was hard, because he's got such a good energy and a way about him. Obviously he's a really good player, versatile player, but he's just a guy that has fit into our culture extremely well, and it was a tough conversation for him, and tough conversation and decision for the organization.
All right, so clearly, the fact that Tyler Wade doesn't make the team means he really didn't make the team. You know what I mean? Because when you've got your manager coming off a 93-win season saying, I want him on the team, and he doesn't make the team, that means there's a reason not to have him on the team. Fair?
Fair. And man, that was some sad Schilt right there.
For March, that's sad Schilt.
And Schilt is never like that. That is very sad Schilt. As Brent said in my ear, it's serious when he doesn't call him Wadey.
Yeah,
he calls him right. Tyler. That's like, that this is probably one of Schulte's hardest days of the year right here. This is brutal for him to not only not have Wade around, but having to cut him. But let's be real here. He'll probably clear waivers and he'll probably be back with the organization like in a week.
Yeah, probably. I mean, listen, the team that breaks camp isn't the team for the year.
No, like I said, if you remember last year, guys, we're all bitching and complaining about this bench right now for the Padres. Last year's bench to start the season was Graham Pauly, Eggy Rosario, Jose Azocar, Tyler Wade, Kyle Higashioka. Like, not much better than what they got right now.
Right. You know the saying, it's become a bit of a sports saying, burn the ships. I said ship. That's not what baseball is. You need 50 players to compete over a regular season, right?
You have depth in your organization.
That's the thing. You got 26. That's the one thing that we've been a little critical of the Padres for. Do they have the depth necessary to win over 162? Their starters are fine. If you told me their starting rotation is healthy and their starting 9 is Machado, Bogarts, Merrill, Arise, right? You have the pieces there, Tatis. Their starters are fine. Their bullpen is good. What happens if you lose players for any sizable period of time? This is where they were good a year ago. They overcame that. Fernando Tatis broke his leg, and they won at a high level. He played on a broken leg for weeks on end.
Joe Musgrove missed a bunch of time.
Right.
Darvish missed a bunch of time.
Over 162, that often happens. You'll be without a sizable piece. Can they overcome that?
Manny was hitting 170.
It was June, man. It was hot. They were in Philly. He's calling himself out. He's like, I'll tear my elbow again to get back to being Manny Machado. It was late June.
Yeah, Manny was awful at the start of the season last year for the first half.
But that's my big. I'm not questioning, is Manny Machado going to be Manny Machado? I'm questioning, if the Padres aren't fully healthy, do they have the depth in their organization to win like they won last year? I think if everything goes perfectly, they'll be good. There's no reason to think if they're healthy, they're going to win 74 games.
Well, if everything goes perfectly for every team, you would say that.
Yeah, but some teams have more margin. Like
Dodgers.
Atlanta, Mets, Dodgers, Phillies maybe have margin. Yeah. Do the Padres have margin heading into 2025?
Well, I'm going back to last year and did they have much margin last year with that bench that I said?
Maybe not with their bench, but did they have margin eventually because guys like Solano and Peralta stepped up in the absence of someone like Fernando Tatis Jr.? They
started their season without Luis Ariz. They started their season with a rookie center fielder that we had no idea what was going to do.
Right.
I think last year's team had infinitely more questions than this year's team. It's just frustrating because you're coming off a 93-win season. In 2024, you were coming off of utter disappointment. You were coming off of the most disappointing season in franchise history. The only way to go from there is up, right? Mm-hmm. The only way to go from the most disappointing year in franchise history is up from there. Going from 93 wins to 95 wins, you're going to need a lot of things to go right. And so that's why this year feels probably a little different, because you're coming off of success. You're coming off of a year that was so magical. I mean, how many magical moments did last year's team have?
A couple dozen.
I mean, it was ridiculous.
It was.
So yes, the expectation and coming off of a great year last year, these things are going to be magnified more when they don't have the depth, because you want the good times to keep rolling. You want last year's team to roll into this year's team where they don't have just 1 year of success. They have 2, 3, 4 years of success. Mm-hmm. And so that's why the bench, as being as bad as it is more magnified than last year's bench being as bad as it was, because they were coming off of disappointment. And this year they're coming off of, success, even though last year's team did end in disappointment as well.
Well, I guess the question to start the 3:00 hour with is, that they overcame things a year ago. Can they do it again with Yu Darvish starting the year on the IL? So we'll start with that. Plus, we'll get your calls if you want to weigh in. 877-767-4760 and your text 70470. Start it with the word team. Kevin Acey is our Padres insider. He will join us coming up at 4 p.m. today. And Andrew Wiebe, MLS season pass, will join us at 5 p.m. San Diego FC suffers its first loss of its expansion season this past Sunday against Austin. We are here until 6 p.m. We've got a good giveaway for you today as well. A pair of tickets to the Outlaw Music Festival, Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan, and more. This is at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on May 15th. So hour 2 of Jon and Jim. We are here until 6 p.m. Stay with us, Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. The breaking news of the day, Magoon Guath has officially entered the transfer portal for the Aztecs. This is coming off the heels of Nick Boyd entering the portal over the weekend. Padres news of the day, Brandon Lockridge, he has made the Padres opening day roster. Tyler Wade, he has been cut. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
The The last weekend of spring training. More fine-tuning for the Padres. Are Mike Schilt and the fellas ready for opening day on Thursday? We take a look now with Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. We will have Kevin AC joining us from Peoria, final time this year. He'll be heading for San Diego. Padres open Thursday at 1:10. We'll have more news on our plans for Thursday's broadcast coming up for you later in the week. But Kevin will join us at 4. Then in the 4 o'clock hour as well, a chance to win tickets to see Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. That is on May 15th. So we'll get to the phones in a second. Dave, thanks for the patience. 877-767-4760. We kept talking about the Padres and this, can they overcome injuries like they did a year ago? I don't fully remember where they were to start the year, but I know that Yu Darvish wasn't on the IL to start the year. I know that we were worried about Joe Musgrove with his spring, and he ended up only pitching 100 innings last year.
Yeah, I don't think Joe started the year with the team as well, right? Am I wrong on that?
He may not have. And he may not have. And this is always a possibility with starting pitching. Obviously.
Because Joe coming out of spring last year, he was awful in spring.
He was terrible.
And then he got injured working out because he was barefoot and dropped the weight on his foot.
That was last year. And
then he burned his feet.
No, it was 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago?
Yeah. It was in Mexico City.
Well, then what was last year?
His arm.
Then I know the Mexico City thing was.
He went on the IL a couple of times with like arm issues before TJ. Remember? Yeah. I don't know if he started the year on the IL, though.
I don't know if he did either.
But he was on it a couple of times.
He only pitched 100 innings for the slot for the team last year. Still, it's 100 innings, but the point is, coming into this year, you thought, all right, Darvish for a full year for 26 to 30 starts, adding in Nick Pivetta.
Yeah.
Another very reliable starter. He's not going to have a 3 ERA, but he's reliable. Can give you a bunch of innings. And you add that to King and Cease, who, were really, really good last year for you. That was what this team was banking on to start the year with their rotation. And now it's like Pivetta's got to step up. King and Cease have to be just as good as they were last year. And then guys like Hart and Kolek and Vasquez, those guys are going to have to fill the void and not, be guys that aren't reliable.
So Joe Musgrove was healthy. He pitched in Korea, and he pitched all the way until May 1st before he was shut down for a first time for 20 days. So what he did in the first month of the season, I'm kind of curious. Remember that game in Korea? He went 2 2/3 innings.
Yeah,
he was completely ineffective.
Yeah.
The point is, teams are going to deal with this. And even something you said there about like Pivetta's been really reliable. They're all reliable until they're not. Yu Darvish has had a pretty reliable career, and he's 38. King and Cease have been reliable. You're just going to, some of this is cross your fingers stuff. If King, Cease, Pivetta are healthy.
Everything is cross your fingers, John.
Yeah, but more so pitching. Because you're one pitch away from something of substance. With hitting, things can happen, but you don't typically get shut down with a year-long injury with hitting like you can with pitching.
Well, I'm concerned with the Darvish news, but I'm not sky is falling.
No, either am I. 100%.
Like not even close.
No, either am I. Until I see some tweet, we've signed him to a 3-year deal. Oh, by the way, he's out for 2 years. Let's go to the phones. 877-767-4760. Dave, thanks for the patience. You're on with Jon and Jim.
No problem, guys. Hey, just from last night, I was watching on the wrap-up.
Yeah.
And congrats on another season coming up. I think you're on 6, right?
Somehow. Congrats in what, like quotations?
Yeah.
Well, look, we go back to the early days we were talking about last night and can remember when you're live on the radio. And I do miss that because having the opportunity to have immediate voice reaction after, some of the epic wins and epic losses and meltdowns, you can't duplicate that in one-line text, but be that as it may, that's where we're at. But I did want to congratulate you as it relates to this season. By any objective measure, what concerns, and I think everybody should be concerned about with this team, is that simply put, it's an older team. And Jon, you made a great point last night, really great point that needs to be repeated and remembered. It's going to take a lot of nights of Manny and Tatis going 2 for 4, 3 for 4, 1 for 4, stolen bases, home runs, key game-winning hits for this team to get to where they, aspire to. And I think your point is very well taken. We know what happened in 2023 when you had 7, 8, and 9 hole, basically a dark hole for the entire year. And the concerns that I have, and I think a lot of people have, is once again, this great unknown of what's going to happen at 7, 8, and 9 is upon us. So it all starts in a couple of days, but nonetheless, for this franchise not to have, and I'll finish up with this, for not to have adequate replacements coming up through the system in which a 40-year-old can somehow beat out the rest of your younger system by any objective measure should be a concern at this point.
Dave, appreciate you. It's a good call. We're concerned about the depth of their lineup. We've talked about it for weeks on end.
Their 7, 8, 9 hitters this year, woof. Jackson Merrill was hitting 7 for this team last year. Now, again, we didn't know what Jackson Merrill was going to do, and he turned out to be the best center fielder in the National League, but he was hitting mostly 6th and 7th last year. What?
The speaker that's playing Jon and Jim. And Mike, we can hear that in the studio.
What was I saying? Oh, I was saying the 7, 8, 9 hitters in this lineup are going to be a problem this year. And I don't think this team is going to just let it slide and just continue to have a black hole, after black hole after black hole in their lineup. They're going to evolve. But yeah, to start, your 7, 8, 9 hitters are going to be rough.
What did they do today, by the way, in their final spring training game?
They tied. Who cares?
Again?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Tie more often. 3 ties?
3 ties this spring.
All right. So that means off for San Diego. No games Tuesday or Wednesday. They play Thursday at 1:10 against the Atlanta Braves. And it's for real. Come Thursday, Jim gave you some of the probables for the first 5 games. 2 of them are TBD. We still are waiting on who officially will be in this rotation. 2 of the spots officially, right?
The good thing is we have Kevin in an hour.
Who do we speculate? Stephen Kolek for one of these jobs? Randy Vasquez?
I would have put Stephen Kolek and Kyle Hart now in this rotation. But from the stuff that Kevin's writing, it sounds like it's Hart and Vasquez. With
Like it was Vasquez's job to lose?
Kinda. Yeah, 20 starts last year. Did you know that, John?
I did know that. Well, okay, so you have 3 starters for 2 spots, we're saying? Out of Hart, Vasquez, Stephen Kolek. Will the other potentially be the last spot in their bullpen?
No, no.
The other will be stretched out in AAA?
Potentially. I don't know, John. I'm not
cut.
I don't know. I'm just telling you, I think it's going to be, and it should be, not I think it's going to be, it should be Kolek and Hart.
It should be Kolek and Hart over Randy Vasquez.
Yes.
Yeah, I could buy. I mean, honestly, a little bit like going into last year when it was Waldron. I'm like, well, let's see if he can perform. If these players perform, great, keep them in the rotation. And if they don't, after 3 or 4 opportunities, give someone else a try. Right? If Kolek's first 4 outings, he doesn't get out of the 5th inning and has a 6.5 ERA, then Randy Vasquez come on down.
Yep.
If Kolek's effective, then he stays in the rotation. Speaking of 20 start stretches, Matt Waldron had a really nice stretch in a year. So he kept his job. But all these jobs, from the bench pieces like Martin Maldonado to the 4th and 5th starters without Yu Darvish, you're going to have to perform. Like this isn't like, let's have fun, guys. No, I mean, whatever it takes to get to 89 wins and get to the postseason is hopefully what the plan is. But again, a lot like the bench, just because Stephen Kolek starts the year in the rotation, if he doesn't mean he finishes the year in the rotation. He's got to perform.
Well, that's kind of how it is when you
but it's
aren't
not
established.
Well, you're not established, but I'm saying it's not like that with Darvish, King, Cease, Pivetta when they're healthy.
Right.
But with that 5th spot, Waldron last year, Kolek this year, Kyle Hart this year, these guys are guaranteed nothing.
You're 100% right. Now, even with all this being said, I still am, I said this last night, I'm cautiously optimistic about this club. I really am. I think this is kind of like their last hurrah, right? Rise and Cease and King, those guys are gone after this year. Darvish, you'll never see Darvish go pitch, 30 times in a season again. You're not going to see it this year,
Right.
Robert Suarez, right? Is he going to be with the club next year or not? You got so many question marks for next year's team. And again, that's next year's team. But it just puts that much more emphasis on this year's team and how this year's team needs to perform. They cannot have a 2023 year where they underachieve and they're like the worst team in baseball with runners in scoring position and guys aren't performing and whatnot. Like, you need to not have that happen again. And this year is so important. And there is pressure on this team to perform this season. I think there is.
By the way, Robert Suarez today pitched for the first time since March 12th. And that's a good amount of time.
That's a couple of weeks.
Right? It's a couple of weeks,
days.
12 days. And he went a scoreless inning. He did allow a hit. He struck out 2. Remember, he had that awful spring. A third of an inning, 4 runs in his prior outing. There was an outing earlier in March when he went a third of an inning and allowed 4 runs. He didn't have one clean inning in spring training this year. He obviously breaks camp as their closer. That's a fascinating storyline heading into the year, that you have a closer that had a bad spring for whatever it's worth, that didn't have one clean inning, that is going to be counted on heavily. You talk about an important piece in a quest to get to the postseason. Robert Suarez played a huge role last year for this team, right? Outside of some struggles late in the year, like, he closed the door by and large, allowed them to get to the 93 win plateau, wasn't blowing saves. We talk about all these pieces. Can you replicate what you did last year? Can you be better than you were last year? Robert Suarez is a big question for me heading into the year.
He's a question, but I think also I'm going to give these guys, at least right now, the benefit of the doubt, because Robert Suarez, his year last year was a really good season. It was not a good August and September. It was an awful September, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give this club the benefit of the doubt. I'm giving Schulte, all these guys, right? I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt until they show otherwise. And to just think that this team's not, like, I see these in the chat and on X, like 75 wins, 73 wins. The team sucks. What?
Yeah,
no.
I don't see that.
The team is returning a lot of really good pieces, majority of their core. Yes, will the loss of Jurickson Profar, as far as the intangibles go, hurt? 100%. You can't replace what Profar brought to the club. The grit, obviously, the production, the clubhouse presence, everything, off the field, right? It just, you can't replace that. But you still got guys on this team that could easily win an MVP. Like, think about that. They have guys in this team that could easily win the Cy Young. So they have the pieces. They're going to contend unless something catastrophic happens. And so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt.
I agree with that. I think that's the right way to look at it. All right, on the other side, back to college hoops as we head into the Sweet 16. Stephen A. Smith had some really interesting comments today on the state of college basketball. You'll hear from Stephen A. on the other side. We'll have Kevin Acey, our Padres insider, joining us at 4 p.m. And later in the 4 o'clock hour, your chance to win tickets to see Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan here in San Diego on May 15th. We're here until 6 p.m. It's Jon and Jim. right, make sure to download the all-new iHeartRadio app, and when you do it, put San Diego Sports 760 in your presets to listen to Jon and Jim weekdays from 2 to 6. Then put Jon and Jim in your presets. You can listen back to the show any hour, any interview, all available right now on the all-new iHeartRadio app. All right, we'll hear from Stephen A. Smith coming up here momentarily, but Jim asked me to come into the office early today, which I begrudgingly kind of agreed to, showed up about 15 minutes late, and then he didn't need me. If you would have told me, by the way, you didn't need me, I would have showed up 30 minutes later.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said I needed you, because
you didn't.
I know, but it's like a trick. So like I'm late to everything. So people tell me to arrive somewhere 30 minutes earlier.
Right.
And then I arrived there 5 minutes after they told me to be there. And they're like, oh, you're 20 minutes early.
Yeah, but you didn't even need me.
I know. I thought I did.
So you basically wasted 30 minutes of my time.
No, I thought I needed you, but I didn't need you.
All right. So tell our listeners whatever you did, because I still don't know what you did, and I've already seen what you've done.
Well, I know you don't know what I would be talking about. Brent doesn't know what I'm probably talking about. But over the weekend, and I think this was like Friday, maybe Thursday. I don't even know. For whatever reason, this guy, Ashton Hall, just blew up on social media. And it was on X, an account, wasn't even his account. And this guy has millions of followers on Instagram. He's like a social media influencer. He's a online fitness coach. And there was a video posted, and it was like my morning routine. And it is the most ridiculous video I've ever seen. He wakes up at like 3:30 a.m. He takes like 2 hours to like get ready, and then he's dipping his face in some Saratoga water,
sparkling water, and he puts banana peels on his face.
And he's like wiping banana peels on his face. And
do we even believe that's his morning routine? I don't.
And he's having like people film him getting dressed, and then he has like bodyguards and like servants to like make his food. Servants? I don't even know. It is the craziest video. But here's the thing. You know how many views it got in like 72 hours?
You said like hundreds of millions.
It's at right now, I think, almost 700 million views on X. It is the most viewed thing on that platform ever.
Just because it's that like dumb? Or because it's the interneting?
It's the interneting for sure. And it has like an ASMR quality to it. And so like ASMR, right.
It's like you don't hear anything other than like natural sound.
But ASMR things really pop for whatever reason. They just pop on social media. And so now it's become this thing where people are just dipping their face in Saratoga water. You have like, look at the March Madness official account on X. They just are like getting ready for my day, like admin getting ready for their day. And it's blown up to the point where sports teams are tweeting about it.
Right. So you
celebrities are tweeting about it. So yeah, I copied it.
Has it done anything? And so that's what I want to know. So I'm looking at this post.
Okay.
So you did one with like Jim's routine. It's got 2,800 views. Now it has 16 shares, 55 likes, and 10 comments. So it has 6,000. That's pretty good.
It has 6,000 views on.
Does it?
No, on mine.
Oh, and on Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
so if we made it,
I don't know. We haven't made it. I just whatever. I know you are like, this is stupid. Brent's probably like, this is stupid.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
You're looking at the very wrong thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It has 800 views on Instagram.
Okay, I posted like an hour ago. Chill out, bro.
When I thought it was going to go to 700 million views.
You swing at everything. You can't.
Nobody loves social media or viral trends more than Jim. Anyone I've ever met in my life, I've never met someone so dialed in to trends than you.
Me and Darnay were, no joke, texting about this.
But Darnay's not into trends
1
like this. But Darnay doesn't care. Like he's not going to post. He's not going to post.
He's not going to post.
He's not going to copy.
But he cares.
Does he?
He 100% cares.
But you know like every trend all the time.
Yeah, because I live on social media.
Right.
Now you live on social media as well, but for some reason you just passed this up, even though it is the most viral thing on the planet right now.
I mean, just because it's viral doesn't mean I should necessarily care, I guess is my point.
I'm just saying that it's weird how you didn't know about this when it is.
How many of our listeners have not 70470 started with team? Did you know about this?
Well, I'm saying it's weird for you because you live on social media.
I think I saw it, but I was just like, eh. I saw. I was like, eh. I mean, I got opening day. I got transfer portal. I got March Madness.
I know you do, but I think it's just so ridiculous, like over the top, where he's like diving into a pool and the pool says no diving, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like, just if you just look at his page, it doesn't make any sense. He's wearing like designer shoes and working out for I don't know. And so I looked on last night his website to get coached by him, John. For
how much?
For a full year, it cost almost $4,000.
Here's what I like that went viral this weekend was the manager at McNeese that got the NIL deals, Amir Khan.
Oh yeah,
that thing completely blew up.
It did. There's multiple things that blew up this weekend,
but that thing completely blew up.
Not like this though.
No, not like this. But this guy got like tens of thousands of dollars in NIL because he I don't know why, but he was had the boom box bringing the team out. He had like Buffalo Wild Wings deals, and now he's transferring in NIL. He's the first manager to get NIL deals, first manager to transfer for NIL deals.
Yeah, so there was multiple things trending on social media.
Did you see that?
I did see that.
Okay,
yeah. I'm very aware of those things.
I want to see you replicate that. I want to see you in like a jumpsuit, boom box,
no.
start a Jon and Jim.
But because here's the thing, this trend, or I guess this thing that blew up with Ashton Hall, that is very easily like you can very easily replicate that. And there are so many funny viral videos of like people showing their morning routines, and they're just like them laying in bed for like 3 hours, like they wake up. I don't know if you like get it or not, but that's what the internet is saying is funny right now.
The internet is it's funny.
John's
it's funny. All right, coming up on the other side, we'll hear from Stephen A. Smith. Plus, later this hour, is that good? The best and worst of the sports weekend, and Kevin Acee from Peoria for a final time this spring. Padres roster, has it been finalized or not? Who will be the fourth and fifth starters? The last bench piece, the last reliever, and much more with Kevin Acee, our Padres insider. He will join us at 4 p.m. Plus, we're giving away Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson tickets to see them both here in San Diego on May 15th. We're here until 6 p.m. It's Jon and Jim.
This update's brought to you by Progressive Insurance. We'll start with news with the Aztecs today. Magoon Guath announced, well, he didn't announce, but it's being announced that he has entered the transfer portal. Nick Boyd has also entered the transfer portal as well. And Padres news of the day with opening day on Thursday. The roster is being crunched down to 26, and Brandon Lockridge will make the opening day roster over Tyler Wade, who was released. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
All right, keep up with San Diego Sports 760 anytime, anywhere. Whether you're stepping out of the car or settling in at home, just ask your Google or Alexa smart speaker to play AM 760 or stream it live through the iHeartRadio app. It's never been easier to stay connected with your favorite shows like this one.
Oh,
San Diego Sports 760 goes where you go. Kevin Acee at 4 p.m. Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson tickets for May 15th in San Diego will give away in the 4 p.m. hour.
I thought you were going to say Bob Dylan joins us.
We're going to give away.
I'm like, what?
We're giving away Bob Dylan. All right. So Stephen A. Smith, I don't often agree with Stephen A. Smith. And I'm not fully saying I agree with him here, but let's hear what he had to say about Cinderella's, college basketball, this NCAA tournament, and March Madness, and react.
If this continues, it will be the death of college basketball. Because college basketball, listen to what I'm saying, Coach. This has no effect on the allure of college basketball during the season. But March Madness, the madness of March, owns sports for that 4 to 5 week period beginning somewhere in March through the early part of April. Owns sports. NFL season is done. The draft is approaching but hasn't arrived yet. The NBA playoffs are approaching but hasn't arrived yet. Baseball season is just getting underway. Other than opening day, you ain't really thinking about it. March Madness, the NCAA tournament is where it's at. What I'm talking about when I allude to such a drastic, hyperbolic statement, albeit in some people's eyes, is I'm talking about the NCAA tournament. No matter what's going on during the college basketball season, if you in Durham, you're looking at Duke in North Carolina, you're in Raleigh, you're looking at NC State, you're down and you're in the Pac-12, you're looking at Stanford, you're looking at UCLA, USC, people like that, not them anymore, not in that conference, but you hear what I'm saying. My point, Michigan and Ohio State, Big Ten, all of this other stuff. But the NCAA tournament is where it's at. And what is the appeal? What is the allure? Anybody has a chance because of Cinderella. That's what gravitates you. So when we have, something, a system in place that says it's compromising that. If there was no NIL, if there was no trade portal, Shay, right? And you have zero, the mid-majors go 0-6 in the second round. Please, we ain't sweating that. But when you're able to point to rules that have been implemented, that ultimately shows itself to have inflicted upon the game itself, that's dangerous.
Did he just call Shannon Sharp Shay?
Shay, he did.
What?
He always says that.
Shay.
I mean, listen, Stephen A. Smith isn't like the guy I would typically turn to for like an opinion on college basketball because he never talks about it. But for a guy that's like in the sports realm to step into that arena and offer that take, I actually kind of get. Like, I think I'm not saying he hit the nail fully on the head, but he kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, Cinderella is a fundamental part of March Madness, is it not?
Yes.
If you take Cinderella away from March Madness, are you killing the golden goose? Is the question. Now, I don't know the answer. Maybe people want to watch more Duke and Carolina in the Elite Eight. Maybe that's better than watching Duke and St. Peter's.
Or how about this? Maybe it's just a year where the top teams are just really good. And by the way, like I said, there have been blowouts for sure. There's no doubt about it. There's been blowouts in this tournament. But UCSD had a chance to take down Michigan. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado State had a chance to take down Maryland.
They did.
Give me another team. I mean, Arkansas is a 10 seed, but they're still in the SEC.
We saw McNeese beat Clemson.
McNeese beat Clemson. So I think people just are expecting, it's March Madness. There needs to be buzzer beaters galore, and there needs to be crazy upsets. Like some years there just
Fair.
isn't. And if this is a pattern that goes 10 years or even 5 years where you don't see a seed lower than the 10 seed make the Sweet 16, then okay, let's have this discussion. Yeah. But it's to me, it's an overreaction from people right now after one tournament in the middle of the NIL period that you haven't seen any crazy upsets, and people are losing their minds and wanting upsets and buzzer beaters. And John Fanta said it last night. It's like, you happy with your buzzer beater now for everybody complaining with the Maryland-Colorado State game?
Right.
Like sports are sports. You never can script sports. And to be upset that there's not multiple buzzer beaters and multiple upsets. Well, guess what? I'm sorry to tell you, that's what sports is.
No, I agree with you. I think that's a good counterpoint. I guess the question should at least be asked. If you take the best players off the Big South champions and the Big Sky champions and shoot the Mountain West champions,
okay,
are you making it less likely for Cinderella to exist moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, yes.
Now,
but
again,
that's not proven.
2 years ago, San Diego State and FAU were in the Final Four. I would argue that was just in front of the era that we're in right now. Sure, last year, Oakland beat Kentucky in the NCAA tournament. I remember watching it. It was a great upset. A couple of years ago, we saw St. Peter's in the Elite Eight. So you're probably right. Like, it's probably an overreach or an overreaction to be like, NIL has killed the NCAA tournament. In 2017, all the 1 seeds, I think, were in the Final Four. That was in 2017,
right?
Well before NIL. So maybe it's probably an overreaction, but let's see what happens next year.
All right, let's look at the first round games, right? So if I'm looking here, we got McNeese upset over Clemson. All right, that's a 12-5 right there.
Okay.
Drake over Missouri. Drake was an 11 seed. Now Creighton, Louisville, whatever. And then you look on Friday here. All right. Got Colorado State over Memphis. All right. Stop doing that. New Mexico over Marquette. All right.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the like super, it's not like Liberty or Lipscomb over Iowa State or anything. But again, people wanting sports to be how they want it to be, it's just never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a movie. It's not scripted. This is real life. And sports are the best drama out there because you have no idea what's going to happen. And so I think people are getting upset just to get upset at this. The NIL is a big issue. Don't get me wrong. I'm with you on that. I'm with you. Down the line, for schools to keep their players in the NIL world, it's going to be even more difficult. But after the first weekend of the tournament, and to be bitching and complaining like I've seen about it, I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's a little far. I would just say with college football and college basketball combined, like when you don't have someone looking out for the best interest of the sport, you might have an argument about the NFL or the NBA and say, I don't like the kickoff rule, or why can the Warriors go out and re-sign this player while the Grizzlies can't? I'm making it up. But at the end of the day, someone is overseeing like the health of the sport, right? So at least there's a world where at least the Pittsburgh Pirates can go to the table, right? Because they have an owner that reports to the commissioner or whatever. In college athletics, like there's nobody looking out for what's best. And when you have no one looking out for what's best, you get in these situations where the SEC only cares about the SEC. And not just that, Kentucky only cares about Kentucky. Like, at least in Major League Baseball, there are like rules in place. There might not be a salary cap, but there's a CBA that's negotiated. At least in the NFL, there are rules in place. The issue right now with college basketball and college football is like nobody's looking out for the greater good. Mm-hmm. Nobody is looking out for it. Now, again, that doesn't mean that Boise State can't beat Penn State in a football game. Of course it's possible. It doesn't mean that New Mexico can't beat Michigan State in a basketball game. Of course it's possible. But I feel like you get to these situations where like there are no rules in place. And Dutch is even quoted as saying this. He said this with me on the Brian Dutcher show within the last couple of weeks. He said it to Mark Ziegler today. He's like, when you have a system with no cap and unlimited free agency, what are you asking for? What professional sport in the world could exist like that? Now, it's not a professional sport. It's college athletics. And it's not just San Diego State. It's not crying over spilled milk. I'm telling you right now, I don't think Tom Izzo likes it. I think there's a reason Coach K got out of it. I think look at all these coaches that have gotten out of it. Virginia, Duke, Florida State, like power coaches, right? In power leagues, because they're not comfortable with where this is and where it is heading. That's my overall point. It doesn't mean New Mexico can't beat Michigan State over 40 minutes. Of course they can. It doesn't mean Boise State can't beat Penn State in football. It can happen. I'm just saying, when you have no rules in place, you're asking to go places you probably shouldn't be going.
Yeah, I think that's the overreaction for, the first weekend of games, 4 days of games here is kind of ridiculous. Oh no, there wasn't multiple upsets to your liking, and there weren't multiple buzzer beaters. Like,
right, that's unpredictable.
Stop. You're going to watch anyway. There's another discussion that you should be upset about, which is the one that we're having right now and what you just talked about. That's the NIL discussion. That it does have to do with, the quote unquote little guys taking down the big guys in the tournament, having Cinderellas. But I mean, come on, guys. If you're going to look at the women's game, that's ridiculous. People that watch the women's game should be bitching and complaining about that, because those teams, there are no Cinderellas in the women's game. Zero. It's going to be UConn, UCLA, South Carolina, and USC in the Final Four.
Right.
Like every year, you can just already guarantee, boom, here's the Final Four in the women's bracket. No upsets.
There were literally no upsets.
No Cinderellas. Every game is a 60-point blowout. That's a joke, and that's not what the men's game is. Yes, there wasn't a ton of upsets, but maybe this is a year where there isn't. Like, it just happens.
Your point is spot on. I agree with you. But let me just say this. Brent mentioned this maybe off air, that college football, you've got like the portal open during the bowl season and during the college football playoff. In what world? JJ Watt tweeted about this. Yeah. He's like, let me get this straight. After wild card weekend is when free agency starts in the NFL. Right. Why would you go to the Sweet 16 and have guys at the University of Michigan in the transfer portal when their team is trying to win a national championship? Is it so important the portal starts today as opposed to 2 weeks from today?
Yeah, that's a joke.
So just someone figure it out, like, for the greater good. It's not and by the way, I'm not just saying it from a San Diego State perspective. Michigan could use it too. Think they want their players in the portal when they're in the Sweet 16? It serves no one, is the point. All right, on the other side, is that good? The best and worst of the sports weekend. Kevin AC will join us at 4 p.m. Jon and Jim. San Diego Sports 760, your home for March Madness. Catch all the action from the playing games to the Final Four, Sweet 16, Thursday and Friday, beginning at 4 p.m. on your home for March Madness, San Diego Sports 760. Kevin Acey will join us from Peoria coming up at 4 p.m. We'll talk some San Diego FC at 5 p.m. with Andrew Wiebe. MLS Season Pass, and also coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan May 15th at the North Island Chula Vista Amphitheater, coming up again on May 15th. All right, Brent, let's rock and roll.
Is that good?
Wilcox, snapper, Huber, holder, from 29 yards away. Oh, he missed it badly. Kick on the way. Boswell. That's a winner.
The good and bad from the sports weekend.
Well, San Diego FC will not go its first season unbeaten.
What a joke.
They lost their first match yesterday afternoon to Austin FC. It was a crazy match. That thing ended 2-1. Should have been like 6-4. I mean, there were so many opportunities in that game that should have ended in goals, and it didn't. But again, they will not finish their season unbeaten. Their next match will be against LAFC on Saturday night. But Brent, is that good?
No, he's not good. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, they were also missing a ton of players to injury, and also because some players were playing for their home country that were on loan. So it was set up to be, their first loss of the year from the jump.
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to go undefeated, so, it's going to happen. They still own the MLS record for most consecutive matches to start an expansion franchise without losing, which was 4.
Yeah.
I'm going to start here. We've been touching on this, but you could argue this being good or bad. A record 7 teams from one league in the Sweet 16. The SEC has 7 of the 16 remaining teams in March Madness. Is that good?
It is good.
I mean, they got 14 teams in the tournament out of 16. They got 14 teams in. They have 7 still in the Sweet 16 where teams are going to square off. Tennessee and Kentucky will square off coming up this weekend in the Sweet 16. What do you got?
So the Padres finished up their Cactus League play today. They did not finish in last place, John. They finished 12-17-3. Is that
12-17-3?
Is that good, Brent?
At least they're not in last.
Yeah, who cares?
They had a run differential of -33. The Seattle Mariners finished in last place in the Cactus League, 11-19. The San Francisco Giants won the Cactus League. They finished 19-6.
Maybe it's the Peoria Sports Complex.
Maybe.
With the Mariners coming in last place,
Maybe.
the Padres coming in second to last.
So the Blue Jays won the Grapefruit League. The Giants won the Cactus League. Do either of those teams make the postseason this year?
Both make the World Series.
They're going to play in the World
They're
Series?
Meet in the World Series, Blue Jays and Giants.
Yeah, I like that.
Gavin Sheets this spring led the Padres into everything. He had .315. He had a .373 on base. He had a .704 slugging percentage. His OPS, on base plus slugging, was 1,077. He hit 6 home runs and drove in 13 in 24 games. He's made the team. Is that good?
It is good.
Best spring ever by anyone in the history of the sport.
Best spring ever.
Gavin Sheets.
Well, does it top this spring, John? Martin Maldonado. He had 4 hits all spring. Surprisingly, these numbers, I think that honestly they would take him.
Okay.
Which is very sad. He hit 167 in spring, the 518 OPS. Is that good?
No, he's not good. Are you kidding me?
Again, those numbers coming into today were not good. He did play today, and what did he do? He had 2 hits today. So coming in today, he only had 2 hits on the spring, and he
had 2 more today.
He had 2 more today.
Oh, so we doubled up.
Yeah. So.
My final one is Lamont Butler. 4-year Aztec, transfers to Kentucky. He's back in a Sweet 16, the 3rd straight year for Lamont in a Sweet 16. His all-time career record in the NCAA tournament, this is amazing, is 9-3. His Sweet 16 game against Tennessee this weekend will be his 13th career NCAA tournament game. Is that good?
It is good.
It's hard for me not to root for someone like Lamont. having spent a decent amount of time around him over the previous 4 years, and to see him succeeding in the SEC with Kentucky on the verge of maybe getting back to a Final Four for the second time in his career. Lamont Butler, who's battled through injury this year. He's missed a lot of time due to a shoulder. He played really well yesterday. Kentucky moves on to a Sweet 16 with Lamont Butler at the helm. Pretty cool, I think. Again, 4 years here, final year at Kentucky, heading to a Sweet 16. Who knows what's next for Lamont, but he's had an amazing college career. Who would have ever thought? Truthfully, I remember he was here year one, COVID year, no fans, played sparingly. You saw the potential. Broke his wrist as a sophomore, I want to say, on a slam when he fell.
Yeah.
Lost his sister tragically during his college career as well. And he's just been a winner. It's what he's been.
So now we're getting into these Sweet 16 matchups here. And there aren't any big time Cinderellas, really no Cinderellas. I mean, Arkansas is a 10 seed behind.
Yeah, with
John
unlimited
Calipari.
NIL.
Exactly. Do you see this still being chalk or not? Because as of right now, Florida, all the 1 seeds are in Florida, Houston, Auburn, and Duke. Do you see this as like a runaway for the ones, or do you think the lower seeds here, even though they're not like super low, can make a run here?
I don't think all 4 ones get to the Final Four. That's all I would say. I'd be surprised if 3 didn't, but I think 1 will get picked off. I think Duke is historically good. I think Auburn this year played like they were historically good. They've been tested a little bit. I think Houston's historically good. They've lost once since November.
Yeah.
Once. Who's the other one? Florida's been unbelievable. Now they nearly lost to Connecticut.
I picked Florida to win the national championship.
They've been amazing. I mean, it's just the top of college basketball has kind of run away from the rest of the sport. We'll see if that happens this weekend or not. I still think I'd be surprised if all 4 of those teams made the Final Four. Right?
Yeah, but I would say multiple ones will make the Final Four.
Oh,
I don't know if all 4 will, but I think at least 2 will.
Well, yeah, at this point, that's basically a formality, right?
I would say
all you got to do is win 2 games. 2 of those 4 teams win 2 more games. Yeah, probably. Is Duke going to get there? Yeah.
Yeah, Duke will get there. Florida, they kind of had a scare against UConn, but they're facing Maryland here. They had to hit a game winner to get past Colorado State. Yeah, I'm excited. I know people were like upset there's no like 14 seed, but I mean
the ratings are going to be good. You have huge brands. When you have like Arizona and Duke and Houston and Kentucky.
Yeah, if the national championship game is Duke against Florida, come on, that's going to be, or Duke, Michigan State. Come on. Everyone's like, that's going to draw some big time ratings.
Well, the ratings are going to be fine. It's not really about ratings. It's just about like, is it over? And I don't think it is. Are the days of Gonzaga in a championship game over? I would say no.
Like, when's the next time we're going to see a San Diego State?
Gonzaga, Butler,
FAU.
San Diego State.
Like that year, FAU gets San Diego State in the Final Four. Like, when are we going to see that again?
But then again, it's not like we were seeing that every year. How often was San Diego State playing FAU in 1997?
No, I know. I'm just saying, when are we going to see that again?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, I think it's going to become less likely, but I don't think it's gone. I don't think those days are gone.
I don't think so.
Would be my guess. All right, Kevin Acey is going to join us on the other side. His takeaways from 2025 spring training. Who breaks camp with the Padres? Who does not? So Kevin Acey, our Padres insider, joins us as we get set for opening day on Thursday at 1:10 from Petco Park. Also, in the 4 o'clock hour, your chance to win those tickets to see Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan. That'll be May 15th at the North Island Chula Vista Amphitheater. We'll talk some San Diego FC with Andrew Wiebe, MLS season pass. He will join the show coming up at 5 p.m. We are here until 6. We'll kick off hour 3 of Jon and Jim with our Padres insider, Kevin Acey, and he'll join us next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. We'll start with Aztecs news. Nick Boyd entered in the transfer portal along with Magoon Guath. Moving over to Padres news, Brandon Lockridge. He has made the Padres opening day roster over Tyler Wade. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
There's nothing more important in the final day of spring training than Yu Darvish. Like, you can't sell me on Martin Maldonado as the backup catcher or Brandon Lockridge platooning in left field and being a defensive replacement. Nothing is more important than Yu Darvish. Now, that to me is probably the biggest story of the final day of spring training, way bigger than the final bullpen piece or the final bench piece.
How the rotation will line up, if you do not know, Mike Schultz said it will be King, Cease, TBD on that Saturday night.
He's been good.
TBD's been great this spring. I really like TBD a lot.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim. We are here until 6 p.m. Hard to believe 2025 spring training. Cactus League has come to an end. Jim, what was the record, Jim? Did you say? 12, 17, and 3?
I forget, but I know they tied today to finish up their Cactus League play.
Back-to-back ties. Kevin AC joining us as the Padres break camp. They're heading for San Diego. They'll play Thursday for real against the Atlanta Braves. Kevin, we always appreciate it. Thanks for hopping back on. Are there any surprises for you in terms of who is breaking camp coming off this bench? I mean, I thought there was an assumption maybe that Tyler Wade, when they gave him a major league deal, would make this team. He ends up not making this team. Brandon Lockridge does. What's your reaction to the bench pieces for Mike Shilton? Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, if you go back to, when he signed the contract or even the start of spring training, then you would say it's a surprise Tyler Wade's not on it. But Brandon Lockridge earned this spot. It is who should have been on. I say that both as someone who respects greatly what Tyler Wade did and, more importantly, knows how much the Padres valued Tyler Wade. You still have to say that Brandon Lockridge, both because he can start in left field against lefties, he can be a defensive replacement, he can bunt, he can pitch run. He does all the things that Tyler Wade does, except that he plays outfield better. And they don't need an extra infielder beyond Jose Iglesias. I mean, and Brandon Lockridge tore up the spring in every facet, not just like, okay, yeah, he hit 405 in March, but like running the bases, playing defense. Like Brandon Lockridge earned this spot.
And I see it, and I'm not, particularly fond of Martin Maldonado on this team, but it is what it is, right? Like, it is what it is. Yuli Gurriel, it is what it is. And if you look at last year's bench to start their season, Kevin, if you remember, it was guys like Graham Pauley and Jose Azocar and Eggy Rosario, and that team won 93 games, and that bench evolved over the course of a season, just like this bench will evolve over the course of this season. What was the thinking behind Yuli Gurriel making this roster? And then second part of the question, this is not a good sign for Campy, right?
No, it's not. But if anyone was surprised by either one of those two, then they haven't been paying attention. And that's okay, because I actually would applaud you if you haven't been paying attention to spring training. But Gurriel and Maldonado have been trending to be on this team for weeks. So that's not a surprise. Not good news for Campy, not necessarily the end of the line for Campy, obviously. Injury could go down there and tear it up. I don't think anyone is expecting Martin Maldonado to hit better than, but limits on the guy, but let's just look at his recent history. And you would have to say 200 would be real nice, because he's on this team for defense, for helping the pitchers, and what he brings on that side of the ball. So that's why he's on the team. Yuli Gurriel, look, like, he can still play based on spring training at bats that they saw, and he just can. This is not Nelson Cruz. At least it doesn't look like Nelson Cruz coming out of spring training. I will say this about Gurriel, Maldonado, Hayward in particular. Now, it's true of any bench player. It's true of anybody outside the core almost. But I will say it of those three guys in particular, maybe even Iglesias, right? That April's sort of like their real live spring training. Like,
all or none of them or half of them or one of them could be on the roster come May 1st. Like, this isn't like they're on there. You talked about the bench evolving. I don't think it's going to evolve like in the way it evolved last year. They're not going to be signing Solano or Peralta or anyone like them. And that's the funny part, right? Like, this bench, you are so spot on, is like incalculably better than what it looked like coming out of spring. But we didn't know what was on the horizon. Not only the All-Star year out of Profar, but Solano and Peralta showing up and being on the bench and what they were going to do. So it's kind of like a little bit of both, right? But
sure.
like, look, these old guys, and I say that respectfully, who earned their way on the team. And I think Jason Hayward was basically given his spot, and they'll see what they can get out of him. He looks better as the spring went on. But these old guys, they got to earn their keep.
Kevin Acee is our Padres insider. We can get into that as well. This has to be one of the older teams in baseball, which again isn't the end of the world, but I think also speaks to their desire to win right now and not be overly concerned with the future. So we can touch on Darvish, but where are they looking right now? 4th and 5th starters. Has anything been determined? Kolek, Hart, Vasquez. How will this play out in the days ahead?
I truly believe like that the players haven't been told. And I could be wrong about that, but that's based on the asking around I've done and the answers I've gotten, you know, and a lot of times like I'll look at an answer the way that they'll look at it at bat, right? And I'll take something a little bit different out of it than what the result was. And I really do believe that they have at least haven't told them. I have got indications that if I had to bet, right, with a little tiny bit of inside information, no one telling me outright, that it'll be Vasquez and Hart. But like Kolek pitched, like that was a 5th starter outing today, right? Like 85 pitches, 5 innings, 2 runs. Now, neither team's regulars were in after an at bat. So what does it really mean? But hey, the guy battled and he had a pretty decent spring. I just think that he's the one that they go, you know what? Could use some seasoning down there. We'll send him down. He's making a move to the rotation after 2 years as a reliever. There's some more work to be done, and you've got these other 2 guys that have some experience and had really strong springs, or at least Vasquez finished pretty strong. And I think that's who it's going to be, but we don't have word yet.
What's the concern level for Darvish here?
You know, it's got to be big. Now that's not what they're saying, but they're not saying a bunch. No imaging, at least that's what I'm told, was checked out by Keith Meister, who, does a lot of people's Tommy Johns. Don't believe it's ligament damage, but like Darvish has had the elbow. Darvish is 38 years old. There has to be he's not starting the season. Like, there has to be a level of concern. If you want me to be optimistic, then they're instant shutting them down. They're instant saying, cool, like, you just play catch in a week or 2 or whatever, is consistent with what they said they would do with Darvish. And it has been reiterated over the past week that, look, like, anytime we can shut down Darvish, we don't want to, but anytime we can, it's possible. It's like a positive because of saving some bullets. So there you have it. I mean, I think it's concerning. It has to be, but we don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see like how concerning. And to your point, he'll be 39 in August. So you're not thinking, 200 innings. We might have some issues with your phone, Kevin. I think we have you right now. Kevin Acee is our Padres insider. What about Robert Suarez this spring? How would you describe this? He didn't pitch for 12 days. I know he pitched today. It was up and down. How is Robert Suarez coming out of camp?
Robert Suarez spent the past couple weeks on the backfield working on stuff, and there's 2 things there. Got this new breaking ball that he's working on, and also, they know what Robert Suarez can do. Came in today, did his job, I'm pretty sure. To be honest with you, nothing that happened in this game was going to matter. So,
right.
But like, Suarez is their closer, and Suarez, like, the numbers weren't great, but there was this one game that, like, the defense behind him, just like the other day for Kyle Hart, like, if the Padres starters had been in, it would have been a different story. Like I said, trying to work on the changeup, and then has a new breaking ball. So, we'll see. Well, it wasn't like you go, oh, wow, that was absolutely incredible. But none of the relievers were incredible. And you know what? Kirby Yates and Brad Hamden, weren't incredible in spring training. And so, I just think that Robert Suarez is Robert Suarez. And until shown otherwise, that's what he is.
Were you surprised, Kevin, that there were no other moves made, like significant moves up until the start of the season here?
Well, if I said no, then you would be able to go back and hear what I said before. So I have to say yes. Yeah. I think it was a fairly active, like on a low level, a fairly active spring, given that 3 of the guys that they added late, and when I say, well, gosh, count Gavin Sheets, 4 of the guys they added after January 30th are on this team. Fairly active. Now, does that get any of us? Well, add Pavetta and Hart. Well, I mean, that's 6 guys. But does that get anybody's blood really pumping for as good as any of them? And I would put Pavetta probably at the top of that list in terms of looking impressive. It's not like they weren't big signings, and I guess that I did have an inkling that there would be more, and I know that other teams tried to get the Padres to do more, but they need to win in 2025, and that's the stance they took, that this is, we want to keep these pitchers together, and I'd say, for them, thank goodness they did, right? And, they like their core, and for all of this, look, I think it's fun to get in. I think Brandon Lockridge is a great story. I heard your intro where Darvish is a far more important story. Amen to that. And there's, as interesting as the bench it can be for those of us who care about it at the end, and you do know how important the bench was last year. This comes down to Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jake Cronenworth. I'm not saying they can't win 5, 6 other games like they did last year, more actually, because of what bench guys did. But 80 to 90% of, what happens this year is the core of their starting rotation and the core of their position players. And that's what it's about. And they decided that those guys were good enough for now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kevin Acey's with us right now, our Padres insider. Nick Pivetta has never had an ERA in a season below 4. I think that's accurate, at least in a full season. Now, they kind of signed him to maybe be that 4, but he may end up slotting in to be a number 3. Are there reasons to believe, based on working with Niebla, new organization, what we've seen this spring, that he can kind of take that next step in the middle of his career? He's still not old. He's only 32. What's the upside here with Pivetta heading into 2025?
Yeah, I mean, you figure healthy, going to give you some innings, and new ballpark that isn't a real, doesn't penalize fly ball pitchers as much, or, on many nights does not. It looks nasty in spring, and if you look nasty, your stuff looks nasty in Arizona in the springtime. It has a good chance to be nasty. So, yeah, I think there's a good upside. Now, what's the downside? Well, he has had maybe a little bit of concerns. I think the elbow in past years. And, like you mentioned, never had an ERA under 4.
Yep, no doubt. Kevin, you're still in Peoria right now, right? So you're traveling
When are you coming back?
Tonight, or?
I'm headed back. I'm in my car. Maybe you can hear the air conditioning. Sorry about that. It's 95 today.
Oh, not bad.
Just in time. I think it's pushing 100 tomorrow.
All right.
Just in time. So I'm trying to get back, but I'm also going to stop here at a restaurant and write for a couple hours. But I wanted to get out of the traffic before I, Peoria. Well, look, I'm sorry. No offense, but 6.5 weeks, that was enough.
Yeah, that's enough.
That's plenty of time.
Well, you're going to get back here. I don't know what it's going to be like tomorrow, but today was probably 75 and sunny. So
yeah, it's nice here. It's nice.
Get back to San Diego safely. We will see you Thursday. We'll catch up with you again on Wednesday. And as always, we appreciate you taking time for us.
Always fun. Talk to you later.
All right, travel safe. Kevin Acey, our Padres insider. We can react, plus the wrap on the other side. Plus, we're giving away those Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson tickets later this hour. It's Jon and Jim. All right, AM radio keeps vital voices accessible. Congress can secure its future, but we need your help. Text AM to 52886 now to support keeping AM radio in cars. Tell your member of Congress to pass legislation now and keep AM radio in cars. Standard message and data rates apply. Later this hour, your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson. That'll be May 15th, North Island Chula Vista Amphitheater. So be listening for your chance to win those tickets. Also coming up at 5 p.m., Andrew Wiebe, MLS Season Pass. So I think we told you within the last week or two, because we learned of it through a GoFundMe, that our friend and basically a peer in the media industry, Bryce Miller, really great columnist for the UT for the better part of 10 years, had been battling cancer. We learned this weekend he tragically passes away from cancer at the age of 56. Bryce Miller, who you probably heard here 2 or 3 dozen times over the last 2 or 3 years on Jon and Jim. You likely read him in the UT, had some really, really heartwarming and heartfelt pieces in the UT over the years, wrote about Wayne McKinney III, his battle with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma as well within the last couple of years before Bryce was diagnosed with cancer. But really sad news. We knew that Bryce wasn't doing well. We told you about that GoFundMe a couple of weeks ago. We find out this weekend he's passed away from cancer at the age of 56. Just terribly sad news that we came across this weekend, unfortunately.
Yeah, you just hate seeing something like this to somebody who was so young. I said that this is a big loss for San Diego, and it just is heartbreaking to see that, you know, he lost his battle with cancer, and you know, you sit here and you just hate seeing these types of stories. I wanted to read what Keith Murray, who is the person I initially saw the news from on social media about Bryce.
Yeah.
And he wrote this about Bryce. It is with overwhelming sadness that I share that my friend Bryce Miller has passed away. The world seems less fun without a guy who could write so well about the pleasures of life and who never said no to an adventure. I'm so sorry for Bryce's loving mom, Bay, brother, Bruce, and Brian, Brian's wife, Melissa, and Bryce's angel, Alicia, with him until the end. Bryce's San Diego crew, Clem's Mafia, checked on and supported him daily, and his many friends in Iowa, media, and various fishing holes never stopped being there or checking in. Bryce loved and appreciated it all, as did his family. Bryce squeezed so much joy into his 56 years. He did it by saying yes. Yes to fun. Yes to living. Yes to today. Figure the rest out later. That seems like the message he'd want you to know. Don't take time for granted. It's our most precious commodity. Rest in peace, Bryce. Thank you for being a great friend to Jenny and myself. We will never stop missing you. And I think that is perfectly said there about Bryce, always saying yes, yes to fun, yes to living. I mean, how many times did we reach out to him over the years? And every time Bryce was, accommodating. He would come on the show. If he couldn't make it that day, he would come on a different day. He was just the nicest person to talk to and to have on. And so, yeah, it's going to be a huge loss for this community.
He was with San Diego State for 4 consecutive weeks during the 2023 NCAA tournament and Mountain West tournament. So he was in Las Vegas to start that run. He was in Orlando. He was in Louisville. He was in Houston. Every step of the way. I saw Bryce. He probably joined us throughout those 4 weeks, probably 4 times.
I've posted like videos of us talking to Bryce on social media multiple times.
No doubt. And he wrote some really, really great pieces over the years. I think for Padres fans, for Aztec fans, he wrote as recently as February 23rd about Mikey Varas, head coach at San Diego FC. He's been award winning with some of the columns that he's written in his career as well. And we all know like how things can just be taken from you, right? It's like the certain things, there's nothing more important than just understanding the importance of time. And it's not unlimited, and you never know how much you have of it. You know what I mean? The 56 years is not a long time.
No.
And nobody knows, right, when they're going to get a cancer diagnosis. It's unpredictable stuff, sadly. And obviously there's great work that's being done to battle things like cancers, depending on what they are. But unfortunately, you know, it still costs a lot of people a lot of lives in 2025, sadly.
And Wayne McKinney went to social media He said, truly honored and grateful to have known Bryce Miller. While he was battling his own treatments, he helped share my cancer story and stayed incredibly positive and courageous through it all. Prayers to Bryce Miller and his family. So like this is, and I know Mike Schilt talked about Bryce the other day at the start of his press conference, and it was a very somber press conference, not a normal, happy Schilty press conference. And so you can just tell by someone's, I guess, their legacy as far as, the people that speak out on behalf of their name. And Bryce, his legacy here over the last however many years he was writing here in San Diego, it's going to be missed.
Mike Schilt didn't need to do that, by the way. That's a credit to Mike Schilt. Like we've been very opinionated on Mike Schilt commentary with press conferences and whatever else. But for Mike Schilt to start a media scrum by recognizing the passing of Bryce Miller is a credit to Mike Schilt. He didn't need to do that. There's a lot of managers or head coaches across sports that would never do that in a million years. For him to take time to do that is a credit to Mike Schilt. So I appreciated that. You appreciated that. I'm sure a lot of people appreciated that.
Yeah, I just look at these things, and it kind of hits home when you have that person on your show a bunch, and you've seen this person around, and you've read their writing, and you look forward to when an article is released by Bryce, and the way he looked at things, and like we read there, his positive attitude towards everything. And we weren't like best friends with Bryce, but we knew each other, obviously me and you, and we had him on our show. And so, yeah, it's just incredibly sad to you see that news over the weekend.
No doubt about it. The obituary is at the UT. Ryan Finley wrote it, their editor. You can read it at the Union Tribune. Bryce Miller, gone at the age of 56. We'll get to the wrap on the other side. We'll give away those Bob Dylan and Willie Nelson tickets coming up later this hour. We'll be joined by a guest from MLS Season Pass, Andrew Wiebe, as San Diego FC suffers their first loss in Major League Soccer. He'll join us at 5 p.m. It's Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. News of the day: Magoon Guath has officially entered the transfer portal, joining Nick Boyd in the transfer portal. He announced that over the weekend. And Padres news of the day: Brandon Lockridge has made the opening day roster. Tyler Wade has not. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small businesses with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
All right, Jon and Jim back with you here until 6. We'll give away those Bob Dylan, Willie Nelson tickets. This is at the North Island Chula Vista Amphitheater coming up May 15th. We'll do that coming up later this hour. Andrew Wiebe, MLS season pass on San Diego FC, suffering its first ever defeat in Major League Soccer. He will join us at 5 p.m. But right now, let's get to this.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Which number 1 seed will lose first?
I'm going to say Auburn, even though they could easily just run the table here. But if I had to pick one, I'll pick Auburn. I can't pick Duke. I can't pick Houston. Obviously, I can't pick Florida. They're my team to win the whole thing. So I'll pick Auburn.
Yeah, I agree with you. So Thursday, Duke plays Arizona. Florida plays Maryland, which means Friday, you have Auburn, Michigan. I don't see that. And you have Houston, Purdue. I don't see that. Although Purdue is playing in Indianapolis, 70 miles from its campus, which is ridiculous for Houston as the 1 seed. I don't know which of these teams, like, who's the biggest competitor to the ones? Like, who's the best non-1 seed in the tournament is the question. Is it Michigan State? Is it Tennessee? Could be Tennessee. Is it Alabama?
I was going to say St. John's, but
they're gone.
Sorry, Darren.
I don't see Alabama beating Duke.
Maybe.
Could Texas Tech beat Florida? I don't think it's overly likely. Could Michigan State beat Auburn?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where
that's like the trendy pick. We had Chris Hodge was on with us last week. His final four was Michigan State, Florida, Duke, Houston.
What's more likely, Michigan State over Auburn or Tennessee or Kentucky over Houston?
I think Michigan State over Auburn.
Yeah, I agree. I'll go with Michigan State.
I think Tennessee could take down Houston.
They can score, man.
I don't know about Kentucky, but anyway.
Yeah, I kind of think it'll be either Houston or Auburn that don't make it to the Final Four. I think 3-1 seeds get there. I think either Houston or Auburn don't make it to the Final Four. Next question.
What's the Padres' biggest concern heading into the season?
It's their depth. The depth of this team. If one major piece goes down, the players behind them, it's going to be some sweat and bullets moments. I no doubt about it's the depth of this team.
I think it's Yu Darvish specifically, because if he is going to get imaging, or if he is visiting doctors that do Tommy John, or if he does miss a lot of the season, that's a lot to overcome. He's meant a ton to the rotation over the last 3 or 4 years. So it would be a huge loss. If you actually didn't have Yu Darvish for a majority of the season, that would be a massive loss. If it's a short period of time, it can absolutely be overcome. But if you actually didn't have Yu Darvish as part of your rotation in 2025, that would be a massive loss. I don't know how they would overcome it. Hopefully not. It's not the case, but heading into the year without knowing his health, that to me is the biggest concern. Next question.
Does it make any sense that the transfer portal opens up today during the NCAA tournament?
I would love for somebody to explain why it does make sense, because it doesn't make sense. Like, I can't think of a way why it makes sense. It makes no sense. Where is that spokesperson or whoever, as far that's with the NCAA, that can explain why today is the day and why it makes sense? Because it doesn't.
It doesn't make sense. How about this? A year ago, it opened a week ago, when all 68 teams were still in the tournament.
It's even dumber.
This year, they move it back a week, so you have just 16 teams still playing meaningful basketball. In the future, just put it after the Final Four. Is it that hard? You don't do free agency in the NBA during the NBA playoffs. Steph Curry's not a free agency when he's in the Western Conference Finals. Just put it off. Wait 3 days until after the Final Four. 2 days, for all I care. but it doesn't make any sense. But a lot of things right now don't make a lot of sense in college athletics. Next question.
Can the Aztecs replace Magoon Guath?
I mean, they're going to replace these guys, but can they replace the production? It's really hard, I think, to replace a 7-foot premier shot blocker, freshman of the year, defensive player of the year, just like that. So I'm going to say no.
It's not about replacing his 2024-25 production. It's about replacing his future production, because what you saw from Magoon Guath is nowhere near his ceiling. So if he stays in college for the next 2 years and all of a sudden goes from a 8.5 points, 5 rebounds, 2 block guy, and he blossoms into like 17, 10, and 3, that's what is possible for Magoon. Who knows if he even plays another game of college basketball or not? He might be in the NBA the next time we see him, although I think he'll be back in college. So, yeah, you can replace that actual productivity, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks. But next year, you were envisioning Magoon Guath to score 15 points per game and grab 10 rebounds per game and block 3 shots per game or whatever it was. So it'll be difficult to replace. But, yeah, that's the job of Brian Dutcher and the staff. I mean, that's the job of the staff to do that. I mean, the crazy thing is he only played 25 games as an Aztec. 25. You look at some of these games. I mean, he really didn't get going until late January. There was a 6 or 7 game run where Magoon Guath was probably one of the better players in the Mountain West, would be my guess. But before that, he was still scratching the surface of what he was going to become. There was a 6 or 7 start stretch. Then he got hurt against Utah State. But I'm thinking more about his future. I'm not thinking about his last year. I think what he did this past year can be replaced. But what he's about to do, if he's going to eventually become 17 and 11 and 3.5 blocks, that, of course, is almost impossible.
Like if next year, say he goes to Texas.
Okay.
Very real possibility with
He's out of Texas.
Yeah, with his family there.
Yep.
Say he goes to Texas, or give me another school like Baylor or
Texas A&M, Texas Tech.
A&M, Texas Tech, right? One of the schools with some money. And he has like a year where he's like 15, 9, and 6.
6 being what? Blocks?
Blocks.
Well, there's no such thing, but yeah.
But you know my point.
Yeah.
I'm just giving some crazy numbers. That is going to hurt. If you're an Aztec fan,
it's going to hurt.
You see it and you're like, oh, we could have had that. Maybe not 6 blocks, but you get my point.
Yeah, it's going to hurt. Exactly. I mean, unless you end up in the NBA, it still hurts. I mean, Kawhi Leonard spent 2 years in college. I'm sure people would have loved to have him for a third.
Mm-hmm.
But he went to the NBA. So you can't fault a player for going to the NBA. And I can't fault a player for taking advantage of a system. Brian Dutcher's quoted in this article from Mark Ziegler saying he thinks Magoon could get $1.5 to $1.7 million.
Jeez.
$1.5 to $1.7 million. You know how much money that is? It's $1.5 to $1.7 million.
That's like all of the Mesa Foundation.
Yeah,
money.
I don't know the exact amount, but that's a lot. You know how many dollars that is per game? Like they play 30 games. So 1.5 divided by 30 is 50 grand a game. Who can afford that? Yeah, Texas can.
Mm-hmm.
Texas Tech maybe can, but there are very few programs. I mean, Northwestern's not paying that. LSU, isn't paying that. There's very few programs that are going to dole out $1.5 million. By the way, there's no guarantee. Washington last year gave a player from Utah State, Great Osibor, $2 million. They didn't make the Big Ten tournament. Indiana had the most NIL money, top 5. They didn't make the NCAA tournament. Rutgers, top 5, maybe top 10 in NIL, right? 2 top 5 picks maybe on their team.
Probably as guards.
And they didn't make the NCAA tournament. So there's no straight line as of yet that you spend the most money and you win the most, but I think it gives you a better shot. And if Brian Dutcher had his choice to keep Magoon Guath, he would keep him, obviously. And 10 years ago, Magoon Guath would have one choice, stay or go to the NBA. But now he's got 2 choices. 3, stay, NBA, portal.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if or when or if ever the NCAA puts some regulations on the NIL, because if they're not going to do that, this is the wild, wild west, and it's a problem.
Yeah, and there will be, but then there's rev sharing, and again, it's like people always find ways to skirt systems and work around things to their benefit, especially when there's no commissioner. So Texas is always going to Texas, right? Ohio State's always going to Ohio State, and you're always going to be playing catch up. It was already hard in recruiting. Like it's hard to recruit with Ohio State, right? Even before NIL. and transfer portal. It's only gotten more challenging in this era of NIL and transfer portal.
How many transfer portal podcasts are you going to listen on the way home from work today? Like 5?
None, because
like
I know more than everyone. No, I don't really. Here's the hard thing. Here's the hard thing.
Stop.
No, I don't care what someone has to say about it.
But what about just a college basketball podcast in general, talking about players in the portal?
I'll do a podcast tonight. But here's the thing. The part that people are failing to understand, because it's so new, they think it's so overly impactful for their team.
It's everybody.
It's every team. And for whatever reason, I can't get that point across to Aztec fans. I understand being frustrated / hurt / being a fanatic. That's a good thing. The fact that people care is a good thing. But I'm looking at the portal today, and it's not just Magoon Guath, and it's not just Nick Boyd. You're seeing players from Gonzaga, Michigan in the Sweet 16. You're seeing players from all levels, all schools that are being impacted. So some more than others. But there's going to be 2,000 players in this portal. 2,000. And there's only 300 teams. That's 6 players per team on average, maybe more than that. Because anyone could go in. Imagine if you could just every day of the week be like, I don't like my job, I'm in the portal, and then have like 50 people reach out to you and offer you more jobs. Yeah, like today sucked at work, and then someone comes in and like, how about this? I'll pay you 5 times more than you're making.
Done.
We would have been gone like day 2.
Yeah.
John, there wouldn't have even been a day 2.
There would be like a 1.5 days, and we're outie.
All right, call right now if you want 2 free tickets to see Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan May 15th in San Diego at the North Island Chula Vista Amphitheater. The number to call is 877-767-4760. First 2 callers will be contestants for trivia. 2 free tickets to see Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan right here in San Diego at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Call 877-767-4760. First 2 callers will be contestants for trivia. Then coming up at 5 p.m., Andrew Wiebe, MLS season pass on San Diego FC, suffering its first ever loss in Major League Soccer. This is Jon and Jim. Wednesday at 6 on San Diego Sports 760. It's STFC Midweek Live here from head coach Mikey Barris, as well as interviews with players and coaches. Find out the latest club and MLS information, hosted by Adrian Garcia Marquez and Darren Smith. STFC Midweek Live every Wednesday at 6 on your home for San Diego FC, San Diego Sports 760. We'll talk some San Diego FC coming up at 5 p.m. with our guest from MLS Season Pass, Andrew Wiebe. Will join us at 5 as San Diego FC suffers its first ever loss in MLS. But right now, let's get to this.
Three questions, two contestants, one lifeline. Today's two contestants, we have Marty and Allison. Marty, you called in first, so you have your choice of Jon or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I don't know, maybe Jon then, I guess.
All right, so Marty maybe wants to go with Jon.
Yeah, we'll give you Jon. That means Allison, you get Jim, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Brent, what is the question of the day?
All right, guys, the Sweet 16 is all set. Today's question, name the 10 schools with 20 or more all-time Sweet 16 appearances, not wins, just appearances. So we're looking for the 10 schools that have appeared in at least 20 or more all-time Sweet 16 appearances.
Okay. Allison, you're up first. What is your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
UCLA and Kansas.
Only one team. Only give us one team.
One team at a time.
So what team?
Sorry.
What team are you going to take there?
God, I can't. UCLA.
UCLA on the list. Good job. There we go. Marty, you're up. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
And I'll go with Kansas.
All right.
Kansas.
Okay. Steal there.
There we go. Yes. Allison, you're up next. What is your second guess? Do you have a lifeline if you want to use it?
God, I don't even know all this. USC.
USC. No.
In football.
Yeah, but there's no Sweet 16 in football.
Whatever.
Marty, you're up next. What is your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
What about Adolph Rupp and Kentucky?
Kentucky. There we go on the list. Allison, you're gonna need this to stay in the game. So, what is your final guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Oh my God,
You have a lifeline.
do not know. A lifeline?
There you go. We'll give you Duke.
Okay.
Will you take Duke?
I'll do a lifeline. Duke?
Duke? Do you take Duke?
I'll take Kentucky. Was Kentucky in there by any chance?
Kentucky was
we already
said.
named Kentucky.
Yeah. So you could take Duke, or you could pick another answer if you want.
Okay. I'll take Duke. I'm sorry, I can't hear very well.
There we go. Okay, so you're still in the game, Allison, but Marty could walk off here with the correct answer. Marty, what's your final answer here? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
No, I don't need it. Go with North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Boom. Game
There
over.
we go. Yeah.
All right. There's a reason we call it Trainwreck Radio. Marty, congratulations. You've got those 2 free tickets. We'll let you know who's on this list, but you're going to see Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan, and more. North Island, Chula Vista Amphitheater, May 15th. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. Who's on the list?
All right, Kentucky has the most. They've been to 45 Sweet 16s.
Jeez.
Then it's North Carolina, UCLA, Duke, Kansas, Louisville, Syracuse, Indiana, Michigan State, and then Arizona.
All right, so that's your list of programs with 20 or more Sweet 16 appearances. It's a big number, 20.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's a big number.
It's a very big number. Kentucky hadn't gone since 2019 until yesterday.
First year new head coach.
Yeah.
By the way, how about that? You got BYU, Kentucky, and what is it? Arkansas. And they're all
first year head coaches.
But they're all like rotated, right? So you had Calipari was at Kentucky, and he went to Arkansas.
Mark Pope was at BYU. He went to Kentucky. Yeah, it's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
And they're all in the Sweet 16.
Funny how things work. What do you got, Brent?
USC made 5 of them, by the way. She guessed USC.
That's
so
crazy.
they had
USC's 5 all time. San Diego State's 4 all time.
Wow.
SC is 5 all time. I didn't realize that. And San Diego State's 4 of all come since 2011. All right, we're going to talk San Diego FC coming up. We have time here at 5 p.m. Andrew Wiebe, MLS Season Pass. So you watched this match.
I did.
They were without a good bulk of their team. Chucky Lozano's still out due to this lower body injury. They had other players out due to international competition. They went down early. They came back. They lost 2-1, right? That was the final yesterday?
Yes.
So, okay, you're going to lose. There's 34 matches over the course of the year. You're obviously going to take a loss. So they've taken a loss. Now it's how do they bounce back? They have LAFC this weekend, right? So how do you bounce back? Getting back home, getting LAFC, that should be a really cool environment. That's the question to me. They were always going to lose. Every one of these teams is going to lose. How do you bounce back off a loss, especially with a really cool opportunity like taking on LAFC for the first time ever and getting them at home?
Yeah, and again, they were missing a lot of players. I really don't know what the international duty is. Like Patty McNair was out, Annabelle Gaudet was out, like because of international duty. Like interesting, weird. Anyway, at the beginning of that match, Austin FC strikes first very quickly, and then they score again, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be the first real game for STFC because they're missing players. They're on the road. Their backline was not good, and just giving up wide open looks at their goal. It was not good. But they fought back to their credit and really put the pressure on, and frankly should have tied that game up or even won because they had so many opportunities. There were so many moments in that game when CJ Dos Santos of STFC made some incredible saves. Again, Austin FC should have probably scored 5 goals. Same thing with STFC, but it wasn't the case. It's 2-1, first loss. I'm interested to see how they respond to this. I hope that Chucky is back for Saturday. There was word that he could have played yesterday if it was a playoff game, but decided against it because it is a long season and just another extra week of rest would do good for him. So hopefully he's back against LAFC. And Saturday, by the way, it's the first double dip opportunity if you want to try it, where you could go to the Padres game, take the trolley over to Snapdragon, and watch the STFC game against LAFC.
What time is the Padres game? We've gone through this. Somewhere in the 4 o'clock range?
4:10, I want to say. Let me just double check on that.
San Diego FC plays at 7:30.
Yeah, so you could theoretically do it 4:15 against the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Absolutely do it.
7 p.m. Yeah, and you could leave early. Yeah, absolutely. San Diego FC, by the way, 8 points in the Western Conference. LAFC, 9 points. LAFC's in 3rd place. San Diego FC's in 4th place in the Western Conference. That'll be Saturday night, 7:30. A match you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760.
Yeah, Darren did play-by-play yesterday. He was good. I listened to it. Him and Warren.
Dude, he did this. Now that wasn't the same day as St. John's, was it? Was that the day after St. John's lost?
Day after, yeah.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. I have watched in some capacity all 52 NCAA tournament games.
I can
all
tell
52
because all the social media stuff that's happening, you're very oblivious to.
I don't care. That's the thing. I was so checked out. I didn't realize that San Diego FC was playing until the match was over because we got the round of 32 going.
How did it feel to just
It was amazing. I haven't worked in a month.
Exactly.
It's been amazing. I was at Thursday and Friday. It was unbelievable. Not working, watching the tournament, just enjoying life. It's been great. We should do this way more often.
Now, I don't have cable, so I have to watch the games on Max. Yeah. So I'm stuck with whatever's on True and TNT and the Turner channels. But they added a thing this year for the tournament they didn't have last year. They pretty much have a red zone channel up on Max now, where they have all 4 games that are currently going on up at the same time. So I was watching 4 games at once, all weekend. It was awesome.
That was your first experience with that? It's been around for a while. With YouTube TV, they put the 4 box on there.
Yeah, no, but I don't pay for.
I know you don't.
They would transition through them on just one station, as opposed to the quad box. You would just get from one game to the other.
Yeah, they have that. They have that as well. But you could also do the quad box where you get all 4.
Yeah, well, only if you have YouTube TV. Then.
Right. Yeah. I get it.
Or you could do it on March Madness on demand. You can do it on the app. You can do it on the app as well. All right, coming up on the other side, more on STFC. And again, their first loss of the season. Look ahead to that LAFC match coming up Saturday. Andrew Wiebe, MLS Season Pass, will join us on the other side. Plus, if you missed the Padres roster crunch, we have the latest coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Also, Magoon Guas, star center for the Aztecs, is in the transfer portal. Where do the Aztecs turn? Brian Dutcher will join the show tomorrow at 4 p.m. Final hour, Jon and Jim comes your way next.
All right, this update's brought to you by Progressive Insurance. We'll start with the breaking news of the day. Magoon Guath has officially entered the transfer portal, joining Nick Boyd. Padres news of the day, Brandon Lockridge. He will be making the opening day roster over Tyler Wade. And SDFC lost their first match of the season, 2-1 to Austin FC yesterday afternoon. Next up, they'll take on LAFC on Saturday night at 7:30. Of course, you can listen to the match right here on San Diego Sports 760. Progressive Commercial Insurance can protect your small business with over 30 coverage options, an easy-to-use mobile app, personalized discounts, and more. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
There's nothing more important in the final day of spring training than Yu Darvish. Like, you can't sell me on Martin Maldonado as the backup catcher or Brandon Lockridge platooning in left field and being a defensive replacement. Nothing is more important than Yu Darvish. Now, that to me is probably the biggest story of the final day of spring training, way bigger than the final bullpen piece or the final bench piece.
How the rotation will line up, if you do not know, Mike Schultz said it will be King, Cease, TBD on that Saturday night.
He's been good.
TBD's been great this spring. I really like TBD a lot.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is the final hour of Jon and Jim. We will be joined by Andrew Wiebe, MLS Season Pass, momentarily. 5 matches in for San Diego FC. They finally lose. I'll take that trend. Lose every 5th.
Yeah, but you also want to see some more wins under their belt to get 3 points.
If they keep doing this, 2 wins, 2 draws, loss.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be in, right?
You would think
every team is in.
8 teams make it in each conference. 9 teams make it.
8 plays 9 to get like the play in like the NBA. Out of 15?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we might not get Andrew Wiebe right now. We're trying him, but Sunday Night Soccer, MLS Season Pass. Brian can try to connect with them again in a few minutes.
I was thinking, do I try to do like the double dip on Saturday?
Which is go to both the Padres and SDFC?
Yeah.
Yes, do it. Be a man.
But I was thinking about the logistics of that. So,
you have a car?
Yes, John. But
perfect.
My whole point of the double dip was to take the trolley to Snapdragon. But if I drive to Petco,
right,
and I park at Petco, can I take the trolley? How do I get back by my car?
On the trolley. That's how the trolley works.
That's just like
it doesn't go one direction.
I know, but that
doesn't ride a trolley. It just goes to Mexico.
John, but does it like logistically make sense for me to then?
I have an idea.
Go back to.
I have an idea. You have a car, and you get a parking pass, right, at the Padres.
Yes,
you can. Yeah, I know you can try. You can try.
That probably won't
so you send an email, get a parking pass. You park, boom, MTS lot. Then you leave. You can get a parking pass through SDFC. You've been able to do it previously for the first or second match. Now, again, is it the most efficient way to do it? Is it the most fuel efficient? Maybe not. But you drive to Petco, you drive to Snapdragon, you drive home. If you don't want to do that, what's the nearest trolley from your home? You're not terribly far from a trolley. You could do a trolley outside of. Yeah, you can. I know you can.
Yeah, but.
So you get to the nearest trolley, you get downtown, you go to Snappy to downtown to home. Boom, there's the car.
Now,
hitchhike.
I'm thinking to myself, like, would you have to leave early from Petco? So the game starts
probably to get there on time.
So 4:15 is when the Padres game starts. 4:15, 5:15.
Yeah, 7:00 is when
6:30, 6:45 is when the game ends.
2 hours and 45 minutes to 7.
Okay. I don't think it'd be a 2 hours and 45-minute game, though.
Why not? Is that long? The average game in the big leagues last year was 2:45.
I thought it was 2:30.
It's longer than 2:30. There's no way the average length of a major league game last year was 2:30.
Actually, I thought it was less than that.
It's no chance. Now you got me going down. I will bet you $400,000, which we'll use for the collective, that the average time of game for a major league game last year was over 2:30. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. 2:37.
So you were wrong.
No, you said it was 2:30. I said 2:45, right in the middle. The game will be over by 7 is the point. If
Price is Right rules, I win. Right, Brent?
What are you trying to accomplish? This isn't hard. It's not like you have to stay till the bottom of the ninth inning. It's the third game of the year. You just leave at 6:30, get the Snapdragon.
Yeah, but what if it's a close game?
Oh my gosh.
And what if it's one of those game? What if I miss the walk-off?
Then stay and get to Snapdragon Stadium 8 minutes into the match.
But what if I miss a first goal of the match 8 minutes in?
Go to neither. Watch The Price is Right. I mean? Watch Dateline.
I'm just trying to think here, logistically, could you do both games in its entirety without having to leave one early?
Yeah, it's unpredictable because there's a possibility of the Padres game being long.
Well, yes, but if
could go 10 innings.
Yeah, and if you go to the game and you look up, it's the fifth inning and it's only been
sure, it could be 2 hours
45 minutes.
Could be pitching changes or lots of offense. But by and large, you should be able to do both because you control when you leave Petco. You can leave at any point and then get to Snapdragon Stadium.
70470, start your message with team. Who out there is considering doing the double dip? What's going on?
I'm saying stop. Don't call Andrew because it's all good. Yeah, I'm sure there's people that are going to do it.
Are you going to go to the Padres game and SDFC? Are you going to go to one or the other? Which one are you going to this Saturday night? Because
this goes back to my point about the tweets. Everything comes back to why do the Padres not congratulate SDFC for the first
stop. Match? It does not.
It does because people are going to have to make decisions. To your point, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do both. It's not like all season long people are going to go to Padres and SDFC games on the same day, even though they play a lot on the same day. It's not going to be commonplace. People aren't going to say, let me take 12 hours. Let me go to the Padres 1 p.m. game and then let me go to the SDFC 7 p.m. game. Not everyone's going to do that. People will do it, but by and large, you're going to make a decision. Either you have so much money or you have so much time, right? Mm-hmm. How often do people attend 2 sporting events in the same day is my point.
Not a lot, and mostly because of money. And if you've seen the price, jump at Petco Park, oh my God.
But I'm just saying, money and time. If you have a kid, you might not take the kid to both games, or you might have to get home for dinner or whatever it is. Yeah. I'm just saying, you're going to make decisions. There'll be people at SDFC games, there'll be people at Padres games, but I don't think you're going to be able to do both every single weekend.
I'm not going to say it because I think the Padres will sell out Saturday because it's Saturday.
Oh, 100%.
But will both teams get sellouts? Is my question.
That's a great question. It's LAFC. I'd say yes.
So are we going to get 40,000 plus at Petco and then almost 35 at Snapdragon?
I think that's right.
Wow, that'd be kind of cool.
That would be cool. I could look at the Ticketmaster map for Saturday, but with LAFC, you would think it would be a sellout, right? Saturday night. I'll look right now. I'd be surprised if there were tons of tickets available with Los Angeles in town. I'm going to look right now, and there are 1,000 tickets available.
Oh yeah, it's going to be packed.
Yeah. It's going to be packed, and the Padres will be sold out on the first Saturday night. Padres are going to draw 3 million fans. They're sold out of season ticket memberships. I saw the what's new that they announced. Why is your computer dead? You literally have left YouTube because your computer has died.
Sorry. I'll be back.
You'll be back. All right. So we started the show by talking about the Padres and their roster crunch. We also then found out about 10 minutes into the show that Magoon Gawath has officially entered the transfer portal, San Diego State star center. I thought the most interesting part of this development is what Brian Dutcher was quoted as saying in the UT, which is, we're not going to be able to compete with $1.7 million offers on players. They don't have unlimited money. I mean, $1.5 million per player times 10 is $15 million. Nobody has that kind of money. I mean, nobody. So here's the exact quote actually from Dutch on Gawath. That's not a quote, but let's see. He will command in excess of $1 million, maybe as high as 1.5 million or 1.7 million, the way things are trending. According to Brian Dutcher, that was estimated per Mark Ziegler, $1.5 to $1.7 million. Tyler Wade, if he made this team, $900K. Jason Hayward made this team $1 million. Martin Maldonado made this team $1 million. You get the point? It's real money. So he's not coming back to the Mesa in 25-26. It's a significant loss. I get it. From a fan perspective, you don't like to see it. The Aztecs are the ones that scouted this player, recruited this player, and found him. They gave him his first scholarship offer. They redshirted him. Now, he was hurt. They redshirted him, and then they developed him, and he blossomed here in his redshirt freshman year. But I would say this from an Aztec fan perspective, trust in the staff. They've done it before. They'll do it again. They'll do it without Magoon Guath. They replaced their top 7 scorers from last year. They got to the NCAA tournament. I trust in the staff to find a way via the portal and with returning players to get this team back to the NCAA tournament next year.
It's going to be hard for sure, but this is not something that's, I guess, new for Dutch. Like expecting this to happen is probably something that he and his coaching staff talked about. So yeah, I believe in Dutch. I think if you don't out there, then you just are upset and very emotional. But
right. I mean, how could you not, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, he's been here 8 years. He's taken them to the NCAA tournament 7 years. Now, is the landscape evolving? It is in front of all of us. It's changed. That in Mensa, Quokka, Rope. Now, you're not going to get a lot of teams with 4th and 5th year players all in one spot. But then again, Kentucky doesn't have any player that's been at Kentucky more than 1 year, and they're in the Sweet 16. So I guess I would say there's multiple ways to have success, and the Aztecs will evolve like the rest of college basketball is evolving to put themselves in a position to compete at the highest level.
I think it's best for Aztecs fans to not get super attached to any future players on this team. And by super attached, I mean thinking that they'll be here longer than a year. Right?
I don't know. I mean, Miles Bird's been here 3 years.
Yeah, but
Reese Waters, if he returns, will be his 3rd year. I guess the way to look at it, it's like you say with the Niners. Like, I'm going to go into this game. I'm not going to let myself get heartbroken, so I'm just going to assume they lose. I don't like to go about it as a fan that way. That's not how I go about it, but I'm not going to say you can't go about it that way. I don't think every player for the Aztecs moving forward will be a 1 year player. Some will. Some will.
And the better ones will probably be the 1 year players.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, is Miles Bird a better player for the Aztecs?
Yeah, you're right.
Is Reese Waters a better player for the Aztecs?
But I was just talking about like Magoon, like guys like that. Now those are different types of players that the upsides I think better than Reese and Miles Bird potentially. Younger guys that are just scratching the surface.
It's going to be both. To your point, you can't. You're right. There's not an assumption that players will be here 3-4 years. You can't make that assumption that you would have made 6 years ago. Like when Lamont Butler committed, there was an assumption he was going to spend 3 or 4 years here. That's how college athletics used to work. You can't make the assumption, but I do still believe you're going to have 3 and 4 year players at schools like San Diego State. If Bird returns, that's his 4th year. If Waters returns, that's his 3rd year. If BJ Davis returns, it's his 3rd year. If Miles Heide returns, it's his 3rd year. So it's not just one guy, I guess is my point.
Well, yeah, they're gonna need a lot. So
that's your takeaway.
Well, I mean, we talked about it for 3 hours today. I don't really know what else to say. Like they need to get some talent in there to replace Magoon and replace Bird, but I trust Dutch, and it's going to be hard for them to do this offseason. And yeah.
All right, back to the Padres on the other side, Jon and Jim. All right, San Diego Sports 760, your home for March Madness. Catch all the action from the playing games through the Final Four. Sweet 16 action Thursday and Friday beginning at 4 on your home for March Madness, San Diego Sports 760. If you missed Mike Schilt earlier, we have the Schilt sound on the roster crunch, who has made the team, who has not. This was Mike Schilt talking about the final bench spot, which has been given to Brandon Lockridge over Tyler Wade and others. This was the back and forth earlier today with Mike Schilt.
Yeah, good for Locke. You know, he's making his first opening day, and he's more than earned it. And what can he do? You know, the one way I've been taught to think about, you know, rosters is how does the player beat the other team? You know, and in simple terms. And so the thing about Locke is, you know, he can do it a lot of different ways. You know, he's got clearly can run. He's a plus. You know, top of the scale runner, and it's good that he can run, but it's only as good as its application, right? And so he's a really good outfielder. He takes good routes. He can play all three outfield positions. You've noticed him a little bit more in left recently, for obvious reasons. So I'd expect him to get some opportunity, especially against lefties. But can clearly play center. Uses the speed on the bunt game. And also, you know, when he gets on, he's a fearless base runner. You know, not only capable of stealing a base, but also just a good base runner in general. So it helps you in a lot of different ways. And then, you know, this guy's really had a good, productive offensive spring. Continues to get better, has consistently, you know, good with his approach, uses the whole field. So he helps us a lot.
We've asked you how tough the decisions were going to be now that they've kind of been made up on the position player side. Like, how tough were they given how well the entirety of the group played?
That was as tough a decision as I've ever been a part of at any level, including the big league level. That was, you know, that was hard. Those are hard decisions and hard on some really quality guys that are big league players that at the onset won't be with us.
Can you speak specifically to Tyler, knowing how much you and others think of him and what he brought to last year's team?
Yeah, that one, you know, was really hard. Again, more on Tyler, but you know, you know, not seeing him today was hard because, you know, he's got such a good energy and a way about him. You know, obviously he's a really good player, versatile player, but he's just a guy that you know, has fit into our culture extremely well, and it was a tough conversation for him, and you know, tough conversation and decision for the organization.
That was a sad Schulte today. Very somber, sad Schulte. I don't like seeing sad Schulte. I want to see upbeat Schulte, giving everybody nicknames.
You'll see it.
I know. You'll see it for sure. Opening day will be. Do you think opening day makes his top 5 list of best days ever?
I hope so. If pitchers and catchers reporting and then position players reporting makes his top 5, then I would think the actual game would make his top 5.
If anybody is going to Petco Park on Thursday afternoon for Schulte's pregame presser that's listening right now, part of the media, you need to ask Schulte if this cracks his top 5 greatest days of the year.
Has to.
Like, come on, guys.
I think all 162 of these games are in his top 5.
It's a layup. Like game 67 on a
top
Wednesday
5.
Afternoon.
It's in the top 5.
Yeah, it's got to be in the top 5.
Top 5.
Yeah, opening day, and we're all going to get enamored with the result of opening day. We're going to overanalyze it.
Of course we are.
Their bullpen in the 8th inning couldn't hold the lead. Or how about that big come from behind win behind Martin Maldonado?
Well, because it actually matters, you know.
But ultimately, yeah, it's one game. There's teams that start 0-1 that win 100 games. There's teams that start 1-0 that win 52.
Yeah.
So it's one of 162 for a reason. But I'm excited for it because it's a lot more enthralling than the last 30 spring training games.
Yeah, these spring training games have been just so hard to just watch and keep up with because I'm sorry, I just don't care about.
It's hard for me to watch.
I just don't. I mean, I like seeing the first couple innings of a spring training game that's televised with Don and Mudd on the call, but once, like, you know, the main guys are out, like, I don't care. Even if the main guys were in, I just don't care. I want to see games that count, games that matter. Thank God we're here. Thursday can't come soon enough. And you're damn right we're gonna analyze everything in that game because finally we have something to analyze that actually matters.
Yeah, 100%. No, I'm excited for Thursday afternoon, 1:10 start, Petco Park. Now, we haven't unveiled our broadcast plans. Maybe we will on Friday for Thursday's
Well, it's a
broadcast.
go, actually. I mean, it's
a go.
It
So
is a go.
Tell me what it is, because I have no clue. If you told me right now, get to where we're broadcasting, I would have no idea where I was going.
Really?
I haven't been told.
So we will be downtown. This is not open to the public, but we will be.
Okay, so then don't say where we're going to be.
Well, I mean, people can walk by us and come like say hi to us.
So it is open.
Technically, yeah, but
Okay.
like you can't. It's basically what it is there's an iHeartMedia party downtown at Sidebar. We'll be broadcasting live from Sidebar starting at 11 a.m.
Okay.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be downtown and there's a patio and we're going to be on the patio. So when people walk by, they can say hi to us. They can see us. But the actual place isn't open to the public to hang out.
And what time are we on the air?
11 a.m.
Until?
Game time.
11 until game time.
Well, we're on until 2, but anyway.
But only listen until game time.
Yeah.
All right. So 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. We're going to be downtown getting you ready for opening day. So special start time for Jon and Jim on Thursday at the point.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll be on at 11 a.m. on Thursday morning, getting you ready for opening day. We'll be downtown. You can come and say hi to us because we will be outside on the patio, on the street, on the sidewalk area. And it's going to be a fun day.
Yeah, honestly, I hope people do that. I'd like a lot of people to come by and say hello,
because our bosses will be there.
Yeah,
so come and
by.
say hi.
Yeah, come by because we will be there Thursday morning, 11 a.m. Swing by before you go inside Petco Park. That 1:10 start. We'll be on the air special time for Jon and Jim, 11 to 2 on Thursday, and then we'll have a wrap up show for you Thursday night as well at 9:30.
And then, by the way, just a reminder: 4 p.m. on Thursday and Friday, Sweet 16 coverage on San Diego Sports 760. So right after the Padres game will be ending, you can flip over to us and listen to Sweet 16 action here on your home for March Madness.
Looking forward to that. Again, that'll get back underway on Thursday, the Sweet 16, right here on San Diego Sports 760. By the way, Thursday's schedule will include BYU, Alabama, and also includes Maryland and Florida, tipping off right around 4 p.m. Pacific. All right, on the other side, much more. Padres 3 days away. They have broken camp from Peoria. They'll do it without Yu Darvish to start the season. What is the impact? Plus Jim's back page here until 6. Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Staples Stores. The news of the day, Magoon Guath has officially entered the transfer portal, joining Nick Boyd. Padres news, Brendan Lockridge, he is on the 26-man roster. Tyler Wade is the odd man out. Yu Darvish expected to go on the IL to start the season. In SDFC, their unbeaten streak came to an end yesterday afternoon as they lost their first match of the year to Austin FC 2-1. And this update's been brought to you by Staples.
All right, Jim's back page coming up in about 15 minutes. Brian Dutcher will join us tomorrow at 4 p.m. right here on Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. You touched on Yu Darvish, who will begin the year on the IL. The story of spring training. Like, is there anything that rivals Yu Darvish starting the year on the IL? Is it who's going to be on this bench or this bullpen or any of the late additions? They made some late additions at the end of, I guess maybe during camp or right before camp, the Connor Joes and the Jason Haywards. And I mean, even the Pavetta signing. I mean,
that was a big move.
That was hopefully a big move, but is anything bigger this offseason than Yu Darvish's health for the Padres?
Well, we're going to have to wait and see if after the first month of the year, Yu Darvish is still not pitched for the Padres, then yeah, we'll look back and say it was very significant. But if he just goes on the IL for one stint, which is the minimum amount of days that you could be on the IL for, 10 days, right? I think it can be just looked at as maybe hopefully a blip.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, I guess there's so much, like, your mind wanders when you get into health of starting pitching,
especially for a 38-year-old who missed time last year, albeit it wasn't because of injuries, because of personal reasons.
I mean, last 2 years, 81 innings, 136 innings. Yeah. Those are his last 2 years. He'll turn 39 in August.
Didn't he sign a $100 million contract in 2022? After
2022. And he's under contract for how much longer? Through 2028.
Oh my goodness.
So this is 25. So he's under contract for the next 4 years. That would take him through what? Age 43?
Yeah, I remember
something crazy.
And I remember the talk around when he signed was the likelihood of him finishing out that deal is not very good.
Yeah, and you remember at the time, we're like, well, they got a bargain on AAV.
Yeah, great.
But they gave him a lot of money. It was 6 years, 108.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that's under market
18,
rate.
Right?
Yeah, it's less than 20 a year. I mean, everyone gets 20 a year. But are you going to have to eat the last 2 or 3 years?
Probably.
Is that how, or if he retires, is he going to still be owed that money?
It's a good question. I don't think so. Because when you retire, I don't think you're like,
yeah,
you can't, you're just kind of,
but I mean, that's, I mean, you got 4 years left on that deal.
I know.
4 years left on that deal. And he threw 80 innings last year and he's starting this year on the IL. So first and foremost, hopefully he gets back healthy, because if he doesn't, yeah, it's 2025, but it's beyond. With Darvish, with that
he hasn't been healthy in 2 years.
Hasn't been healthy in 2. Now he was healthy last year.
He was, but he was gone.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a full season in 2 years. Is what I was trying to say.
3 really. I mean, 2022 is 3 seasons ago. Like when we talk about Yuli Gurriel, I mean, that's 4 seasons ago, 2021.
And of the 4 years that he's been here, he's only had 1 season where he went through a full season, right? Because 2021, he got injured the later half. And
166 innings was a good amount, but you're right. And he made injured. 30 starts. In 2022, he threw 194 and 2/3 innings, and had a 3.1 ERA.
And that probably will be the best Yu Darvish that the Padres will ever see.
Yeah. I mean, man, he's such an important piece just because he's seen everything and he's been a workhorse in his career and he's got great value. I mean, even if he doesn't have a, 3.1 ERA, he's got a ton of value for you. But that was always a question heading into the year. How do you bounce back off an 80-inning season? Even if you were healthy, but he had those personal reasons. Like he was never going to go from 80 to 194 innings. But you were hoping maybe he goes from 80 to 150 this year. But now he starts the year on the IL. And to your point, they overcame it last year because Darvish only threw 80 innings and Musgrove only threw 100 innings. And they won 93 games. So can they overcome it again? No Darvish, no Musgrove to start the year. No Joe Musgrove, no Yu Darvish to start the year. Seems like a big hurdle, but again, they overcame it last year.
And that's kind of the point I was leading with today with being upset about the bench. Dude, the bench was not good last year to start the year. Graham Pauly, where's he? Is he? Honestly, I don't know where Graham Pauly is. Jose Azocar, where's Jose Azocar?
Right.
Tyler Wade, maybe he's out of baseball if he doesn't get picked up by another team.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like Kyle Higashioka is the one player on the Padres bench last year that performed and stuff, but last year's bench to start the year wasn't that great to start out with. And then it added the pieces like we talked with Kevin. It added Donovan Solano. It added David Peralta. Higgy turned into like damn near like an all-star. No, he wasn't, but his season was fantastic. Jose Zokar didn't make it the entire year with this team.
Did Tyler Wade really have a negative 0.7 WAR last year?
Dude, yeah, he was awful.
Did Tyler Wade really have a 524 OPS?
Yeah, he was awful. How do you not remember this?
I do not remember that at all.
To the point where he saw the chirping online about like, why is Tyler Wade out there? And he blocked everybody.
Yeah, again, it's a good point. What was their bench last year? I mean, Mike Schilt pretended like this guy was Fernando Tatis Jr. in 2021 in terms of his impact.
I know he's a great clubhouse guy. I don't care.
Yeah, I think they can overcome their bench.
Yeah, I just hope that Yuli Gurriel doesn't turn into the next coming of Nelson Cruz, where he's getting at bats like all the time as their DH and just like not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jose Iglesias is a good piece to have. I think it replaces the loss of Donovan Solano, like kind of like a glove on paper. The Martin Maldonado thing, it just whatever. I don't like it. Their catching position is awful. That is something that AJ Preller, I would hope, addresses at some point this year, because going through a full season with Elias Diaz and Martin Maldonado, give me the likelihood of that happening.
I go back to Kevin joined us. Kevin Acer, Padres Insider, 4 p.m. was like, yeah, we could talk about the bench. But Bogarts, Manny, Toddy.
Yes, and we've said that.
Yeah, and that is true. And that is true. Now, again, is the bench going to matter? Of course it is. There's going to be a scenario that presents itself in the first series of the year where you need the bench to come through in some manner. Of course it's going to have value. But when you compare it to the value of other parts of the team, it doesn't have near the same. So I think my point is they can overcome their bench because they overcame their bench at least to start 2024. Can they overcome Manny Machado going 3 months without hitting like last year? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe they can. Can they overcome an injury to Fernando Tatis Jr. like they've dealt with his entire career? I don't know the answer to that. Can they overcome, for whatever reason, every odd season numerically they don't win in 19, 21, 23 for whatever reason? Like, can Mike Schilt be as good of a manager in year 2 as he was in year 1? Bob Melvin was a good manager in year 1 too. And then the wheels fell off in year 2. So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. That's fine. And they'll be answered once the season starts. And thankfully the season is going to start in less than 72 hours.
I just need this team, especially this core, to show that they can have back-to-back good years. Because they haven't done it yet. Like, you look at this trend from 2019 when Manny came in.
Right.
It has been up and down and up and down and up and down. And now we are in a odd year, which if you're looking at the trend of this team over the last 6 seasons, this would be considered like a down year for them, just if the trends hold true.
Right.
So can this core prove that they can have back-to-back good seasons?
And could Jackson Merrill hit right in the middle of the lineup when you're asked to hit, when you have to hit, when you bat third in the lineup, when you're counted on each and every day to produce?
Dude, I'm oddly not worried at all about Jackson.
I know he's special. He's been special to this point. He had a special year as a rookie.
I just put him in the 3 spot.
Yeah, just let it happen.
Let him go. Have Manny hitting behind him, which is going to help him. Having Toddy hit in front of him, which is theoretically going to help. Like, I don't have the top 4 in their lineup. To me, I put up against anybody. I don't care.
Right. Arise gets on base. Merrill hit as a rookie. Tatis.
That to me is as good of a 1 through 4 in a lineup as you're going to see.
Yeah.
Now they're like the Dodgers, obviously, but Padres, that top 4 right there.
See, I'm with you. I feel the same way on Merrill heading into the year, but if that is how I feel on Merrill, then I hope John Seiler's putting something together on paper. Because if this is who Merrill is, and if you move him up in the lineup, and if he's a 5-WAR player again, right? I mean, you're going to be paying for his services soon. You're going to be paying big time.
Well, that will be the conversation next offseason if Merrill puts another all-star season together like he did last year. Back-to-back years, and he gets even better.
Right. And I hope it happens.
Oh my gosh. I have I have trust that Jackson can put it together.
No, I agree.
Not put it together, but like have another season like he did last year, and even better. I think this guy is still improving. I think he's still getting better. I think he's going to grow into his body. I think he's going to get more power. The more he's going to become, his IQ is going to get better and better as the years go on. I just think that the sky's limits for this kid. And yeah, that will be a conversation next offseason. Is this kid needs to be locked up now? Because if he's not,
it's going to cost you an arm and a leg.
That's a problem.
By the way, you forget this sometimes. Jackson Merrill on opening day is 21.
Right.
Jackson Merrill on opening day could have won Rookie of the Year.
Should have won Rookie of the Year.
Last year, started the season in a new position as a 20-year-old. Didn't turn 21 until the middle of April, April 19th. And will start this year as a 21-year-old coming off an all-star season as a rookie in the major leagues. And will bat third on opening day for the Padres as a 21-year-old. So more power to him. I hope he replicates it. And then I hope the Padres have to pay up because this guy is special. If he can do it again, then the Padres are going to have to pay up. And they're going to have to pay up in a big way. All right. On the other side, we will get to Jim's back page. We are here until 6 p.m. Again, Jon and Jim, stay with us. All right, final time. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, days away from opening day. 2025, Thursday. We'll be broadcasting live downtown. Sidebar beginning at 11 a.m. If you want to say hello, we'll be outside. Sidebar. Padres opening day against the Atlanta Braves. First of 4 games, Thursday afternoon at 1:10. Jon and Jim special start time, special edition beginning at 11 a.m. on Thursday from downtown.
Can't wait. It's going to be crazy. I mean, I always love opening day downtown because the vibe is a playoff atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been downtown plenty of times for playoff games. You weren't there last year because you were in Boston for the Sweet
Correct.
16.
Wasn't it raining?
It was not
it was raining in Boston.
It was raining in Boston.
Yeah.
That's why it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, opening day is always a good vibe.
Did you enjoy that 4-hour show in the corner on like a headphone or whatever? Like alone, solo, opening day in the corner on like an earpiece or something?
Yeah, it's not talking about that.
Is that a fun show?
Let's not talk about that, Jon.
I've had to do some tough shows.
That was...
You thought about quitting.
I was not happy after that show. I'll just tell you that.
This will be way better.
I was very upset.
This will be way better. Me and you, 11 a.m. Sidebar. Hopefully, nice sunny day.
That was such oh my God, last year. That feels like a lifetime ago, but it was only a year ago. Only a year ago.
They won on opening day last year?
They did. They beat the Giants.
Came back to win late.
They did. I think Xander had a game-winning, not a game winner, but like late in the game, like it was like 7th or 8th inning. He had a hit with runner in scoring position.
Good omen, though. They started with a win. They won 93 games. Let's see if they can start with the win against Atlanta. Remember the last time we saw the Braves was in the wild card round. It wasn't that long ago.
I know. You're going to see Jerkson Profar opening day. Chris Sale this first time because he wasn't in the series in the postseason because he had a boo-boo. He had an ouchie.
After winning the Cy Young, right?
Yeah, he had a little ouchie.
Yeah, he had a little nice year with his 2 ERA last year for the Atlanta Braves. All right, let's get to it.
I would ask you if you like Wingstop, but of course you don't. You don't eat wings. Brent, I know you like Wingstop.
I had Wingstop yesterday.
Now, do you have T-Mobile? Okay, so this applies to Brent and anybody out there that has T-Mobile.
Okay.
Wingstop is serving up a sizzling deal that is turning heads, Jon. As part of their T-Mobile Tuesday promotion, customers can score a 3-piece crispy tender combo for just 1 cent. For just 1 cent.
1 cent.
1 cent.
Right, you did this?
Well, yesterday was Sunday.
It won't be up till Tuesday.
Okay.
This limited time offer is exclusively available to T-Mobile users through the T-Mobile Tuesday app.
Wow.
And is expected to draw major attention from fans for the chain's signature crispy tenders. So
it's a good Tuesday then, because we get our free MLB TV starting tomorrow too.
So free MLB TV tomorrow.
Pretty cool.
You get 3-piece crispy tender combo for just 1 cent.
That's a deal.
Through the T-Mobile Tuesdays app.
Why don't I have T-Mobile?
Why don't I have T-Mobile?
Yeah, they have so many offers.
Yeah, it's a good thing. That's a good question.
Is the service good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You get a whole bunch of free stuff.
Okay.
I don't have calls to cut out or anything.
Okay.
So,
all right. Swing by Wingstop if you eat chicken.
Yeah. Speaking of a chicken restaurant, KFC is releasing new mashed potato poppers.
Mashed potato poppers.
Yeah, KFC is taking comfort food to a whole new level with the launch of mashed potato poppers, a crispy golden brown snack featuring the brand's signature mashed potatoes in a bite-sized form. Available starting today. This new menu item brings a crunchy twist to the classic side, offering a creamy inside wrapped in a crisp outer layer. This was inspired by KFC Australia. So it's not.
Is this only available in Australia?
No. It was inspired by KFC,
but now available
Australia.
in the U.S.
Correct. Yeah. So
it's cool.
Mashed potato poppers are featured in the $7 Dunk It bucket. And if you prefer smaller portions, you can also grab a 5-piece order with gravy on the side.
They were in that commercial they played endlessly this weekend during the tournament where the guy's dunking. He's like, "Oh, is this the newest shoe commercial?" And then he's like dunking it into that tray of like dipping sauces.
I check out quick with the ads, but in this day and age with the phone, the second they go to break, I just go to my phone.
Also, the pig ad. Whee!
Oh yeah. That I know. Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
So, is that Geico?
Single, yeah,
Something like
Geico.
that, yeah.
Every single commercial you hear. Whee!
Yeah, 100%.
You're like, oh, please.
100%.
So you didn't see the weird Beyonce Levi's commercial?
No,
I didn't. I did not.
For Levi's big butt jeans is pretty much what it should be.
I only notice the commercials if they are played
really annoying
every single commercial break.
Yeah.
On Max, it was.
Okay.
Starting April 1st, John, McDonald's is bringing the World of Minecraft movie to life with 2 limited time meals. Exclusive collectibles and a new spicy sauce and in-game bonuses just days before the film hits theaters on April 4th. Fans can choose between a Big Mac or 10-piece chicken McNuggets meal, both served with fries and a drink and a limited edition collectible. The Nuggets meal features a new, I don't even know what this is because it's a Minecraft thing, Nether flame sauce and spicy sweet dip made with cayenne, red pepper, garlic, and a hint of sweetness.
Okay.
Each collectible includes a code to unlock a matching skin in the Minecraft marketplace. Characters include Big Mac Crystal, Fry Helmet, Grimace Egg, and more. I never got into Minecraft, by the way.
I don't know anything. What is it? Can someone explain it to me? I don't know what it is. Is it a board game?
It's a game. No, it's not. It's a game.
It's a video game.
It's a video game, John, not a board game.
Video game becoming a movie.
Yeah, people don't really play board games anymore.
What are you talking about?
I mean, they do, but not like
Risk, Monopoly.
Yes.
Last night, Brent, we were. Side note: we were talking about wrestling because the other story of my back page is that SummerSlam is expected to come to San Diego this year.
I saw that.
And I don't know where it's going to go. My guess is Viejas.
Was it SummerSlam or Survivor Series?
Sorry. Survivor Series. You're right. SummerSlam is, that's like WrestleMania. Yeah, it's WrestleMania 2.0 is SummerSlam. But Survivor Series is expected, thank you, Brian, to come to San Diego this year. Usually Survivor Series is towards the end of the year. So my guess is it would be at either Pachanga or Viejas.
Yeah, of course.
Not outside at Snapdragon or Petco. But someone in our chat, Brent, put Rey Mysterio's name in there, and John pronounced
him Rey Mystery.
Yeah, he thought it was Rey Mystery. So
whatever.
Yeah, he didn't know.
And then they're like, oh, he's from San Diego. And it's like patented move is the 619.
Yeah.
I was like, his patented move is the 619.
I don't do wrestling.
We know that, John.
Friend of iHeartMedia. He's in the building often.
Rey Mystery?
Yeah, he's buddies with Beto.
Okay.
But I mean, the ticket prices for WWE now are insane.
Yeah, but you would go if it was in San Diego, right?
I would look.
You would look?
If the ticket price is like $500 for a ticket, I probably won't go.
Would it be that much?
I don't know. I mean, WrestleMania is insane in Vegas, but it's also WrestleMania.
Right.
But I think if a ticket were like around the $150 to $200 range, I would go. But if it's like pushing $300, $400 for a ticket, like no chance.
To your point, I mean, if this is some marquee event,
it's pay-per-view.
It wouldn't be. If it's in San Diego, it's not going to be in some 20K indoor building.
No, it would.
No, 20,000 seats.
No, it would.
What building can house 20,000 people?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it would be more intimate. Maybe that's what they want.
Well, where was Survivor Series last year? It was in Chicago. No, Chicago was 2 years ago with CM Punk. Last year, was that Toronto? I think it was Toronto.
Skydome, or was it where like the Maple Leafs play in the arena?
I think it was where the Maple Leafs play.
Okay.
Because I know 2 years ago it was in Chicago at the Forum or whatever it's called there. And
where the Bulls play?
Yeah, the Bulls play, whatever the arena's called. And that's
like 20,000 seat NBA
basketball
arena.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like sports arena is not that big.
Well, how many people could you fit in Viejas? Like in seats? 12?
12,000.
Okay. On the floor, you could probably fit another 4.
Yeah.
So
but that still would be small compared to like Philadelphia where the Sixers play. I'm just saying, right? Those are NBA arenas.
Now, it hasn't been announced yet, but the talk is that it will be announced soon that Survivor Series
That's interesting.
will come to San Diego.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They were in Vancouver last year.
Okay.
Okay, Vancouver. And in an arena?
I think
Rogers Arena where the Blue Jays play. Or no, that's Rogers Center.
Rogers Center.
Yes, this is Rogers Arena.
Gotcha. Okay.
Stop naming things after Rogers.
All right.
So, would you go to that?
No.
I know.
You could literally give me tickets front row.
I'll take them from you, so I wouldn't give them to
you. If you could give me front row and even give me like a, I don't even know,
war games?
merchandise pack.
Survivor Series war games, bro?
You give me Minecraft and those poppers. There's KFC poppers.
Fine. Me and Brent will
Wingstop
go.
1 cent.
And what's
offer.
cool is it will be on like a Saturday or a Sunday. So
I'll give you my tickets if they end up in my lap.
Okay.
If someone's like, "Yo, do you want the big SummerSlam tickets?"
Survivor Series.
At Survivor Series, I'll be like, "No." I'll be like, "Yeah, I'll take them."
Ray Mystery, dude.
All right, we're back tomorrow. I don't think Ray Mystery will join us. Back tomorrow at 2 p.m. If you missed anything, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, or Spotify. For Brent and Jim, I'm John. Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760.
Okay, bye.